Immortal Family Cultivation. I am the reincarnation of a great ancestor. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Agreement, Separation. Yan Lingyu and the other two walked into the main hall of the Yan family. At this time, many clan members had received the news, such as Liu, and were waiting in the main hall. Lingyu, a trembling voice called out. Before Yan Lingyu could react, Qin Hainer threw herself into his arms, half shy and half happy. In this situation, Yan Lingyu couldn't help but hug her. So, he gently comforted the somewhat excited girl. At the same time, he smiled at the uncles and aunts of the clan members around him in silence. He thought to himself, Qin Hainer is not the daughter-in-law of the Yan family. If you really want to trace it back, she is your great-great-great-grandmother. Liu and others naturally didn't know what Yan Lingyu was thinking. They were all relieved to see this harmonious family scene. Lingyu and Lingyan, it's great that you can come back safely. The old woman showed a kind smile on her face. The meeting was over, and Yan Lingyu was taken away by Qin Hainer. They strolled in the new clan house of the Yan family and walked towards the accommodation that the Yan family had left for Yan Lingyu. During this time, Qin Hainer chattered non-stop, constantly asking questions, and at the same time, introduced the Yan family to him, a member of the Yan family. Now, this little princess of Xiaonan County may be more familiar with the Yan family than Yan Lingyu. The latter responded in a casual manner. At this point, Yan Lingyu has been convinced that this little princess really likes him, and is willing to grow old together. This makes him not know how to face it. Yan Lingyu asked himself that he really didn't have any feelings for the little princess. You know, he is more than 200 years old, and Qin Hainer is less than 20 years old. This has gone beyond the love between grandfather and grandson. Qin Hainer is still too immature in Yan Lingyu's eyes, and the latter likes more mature ones. Besides, Yan Lingyu still has a place for his deceased wife in the previous life in his heart, and he is considered a widow. He is really not very interested in talking about love. Therefore, Yan Lingyu is very entangled at this moment. Following the guidance of the other party, the two walked to the bedroom. Qin Hainer let Yan Lingyu sit down with ease, and then she began to make tea and pour water. Her technique was a little clumsy, and it seemed that she had never done such a thing in the princess's mansion. Let me do it. Yan Lingyu stepped forward and took the teapot and said. Qin Hainer stood beside him like a little bird, with a smile on her face. After making tea, the two sat down. Qin Hainer took the initiative and asked with a tipsy face, Lingyu, do you like me? Yes, the latter replied and began to drink tea, using the teacup to cover up his guilty conscience. Great, then when will you marry me? Puff. The girl's words made Yan Lingyu spray out the tea that he had not swallowed in time. Are girls nowadays so direct? I can't keep up with the other party's rhythm at all. Yan Lingyu shouted in his heart. He really didn't expect that Qin Hainer would skip everything in the middle and directly talk about the level of marriage. For a moment, Yan Lingyu didn't slow down. Lingyu, what's wrong? The girl asked with concern. It's okay, just choked. Yan Lingyu simply cleaned up the water stains, then looked up, wanting to see Qin Hainer's reaction. What he saw was a pair of moving and bright eyes, like black agate, reflecting the man's figure, full of worry, shyness, love, and determination. This made Yan Lingyu swallow the words in his mouth. He was silent. Right in front of the little princess, he began to think. Is Qin Hainer not good? Not really. Apart from being a little dazed, she did not have all the savagery and bad habits of a young lady, but only thoughtfulness and gentleness. This is a good girl. Yan Lingyu has always believed so, from the gap in the void. And this girl still loves him so much? Although Yan Lingyu has seen more than 200 years, his body is still a young man. When he saw Qin Hainer's moving eyes, his heart was moved. He understood how much courage it took for a reserved girl to say that. Whether it was lust at beauty or love at first sight. He felt possessive and protective. All the most beautiful emotions in the world surged into his heart. A sense of happiness arose spontaneously. A girl can wait for you for many months. A girl can cry for you. If you have such a wife, what else can a husband ask for? At this moment, Yan Lingyu's inner defense was broken by Qin Hainer's sincerity. Instead, he also fell into it. I don't know what this feeling is. Sweet. This is different from the love in the previous life. The previous life was gentle and long-lasting, but this time it was as strong as dry wood and raging fire, making people unable to extricate themselves. Lingyu, you haven't answered my question yet. The impulse in his heart made Yan Lingyu say the following words, anytime. After saying this unconsciously, his face also turned red. Hearing the answer, Qin Hainer covered her mouth lightly with her delicate jade hands, not knowing whether she was crying or laughing. She stared at him closely and found a rare shy emotion in him. All along, Qin Hainer only saw the calm and cold side of Yan Lingyu. It is hard to imagine that such a young girl's behavior would appear on the other person. Yan Lingyu was born handsome, and with this early spring expression of melting iceberg, Qin Hainer was also infatuated for a while. The man and the woman stared at each other for a long time. Suddenly, Qin Hainer raised her pink lips and said playfully, "You are dreaming, and you can do it any time, but I can't do it any time." Although she said so, the smile on the girl's face did not diminish at all. I knew that this wooden man also liked me. He pretended to be quite like me before. I was almost pissed off. Humph. Qin Hainer was secretly happy in her heart. Oh? Then when do you say I can marry you? Yan Lingyu asked curiously. 2 years later, I have to complete my studies at Cheonan Academy in these 2 years, and I have to deal with my father. My father doesn't like you, a poor boy, and I have to waste my breath, perhaps to vent her anger. Qin Hainer deliberately raised her voice and said, "Haha, okay. If you wait for me for 2 months, I will wait for you for 2 years. Then I will go to the princess's mansion to propose marriage in person. Don't run away," Yan Lingyu said with a smile. In 2 years, he should be able to recover to the middle stage of foundation building. And after 2 years of development, the Yan family will also be able to take shape. Then he will have the confidence to ask the other party for marriage. Then it's a deal. You have to wait for me for 2 years and don't change your mind. Do you hear me? It's too difficult for me to change my mind. My heart is as hard as iron. You can pry me. It's your blessing in your previous life. Tisk. The atmosphere in the house was hot. The two chatted until very late. In the past 2 months, there were too many things to talk about, so they decided to get married. In the next 3 days, Yan Lingyu, who no longer avoided and recognized his true heart, was inseparable from Qin Hainer. The two often walked around the ancestral house together. They were talented and beautiful, like a couple of gods, and they were envied by others. All this did not calm down until 3 days later, when Qin Hainer said goodbye and went home. P.S. No more bloody plots, the marriage will be smoother later, and the 2-year delay is just to give the family some time. Chapter 77 Family Planning, Preparing to Build a Foundation. The scene of Yan Lingyu and Qin Hainer's separation is not described for now. On this day, in the Keshu Yan family, Xinshan Pavilion. This pavilion is located on the top of Keshu Peak, overlooking the entire family. The scenery is also beautiful. It is the residence of the clan elder Liuxi. In the Xinshan Pavilion, an old man and a young man sat facing each other. The two were Yan Lingyu and Liuxi. The former will enter the four-sided soul locking array, go to the gap in the void, and then to the inheritance of the talisman array. He will give a general account, especially the matter about Yan Lingyu, which will be explained in detail. It's really hard for Lingyu, but it's a blessing in disguise. Liu Yuxi was distressed about the first part of the story, and only smiled at the end and sighed. So, Lingyu is the most important genius of my Yan family now, and she will achieve great success in the future, she asked again. Yan Lingyu nodded, then shook his head and said, there are 3 levels in total in the talisman formation. If you add the level of entering the formation, it is 4 levels. The first 3 levels are all about testing the talent of cultivation, and there is no test on the formation. I was wondering why at first, but now I understand it. Understand what? Liu Yuxi asked curiously. Yan Lingyu sighed and said, practicing talismans, even if you have a very high talent in the formation, you are destined to learn slowly. In other words, the power of talismans is closely related to the cultivation of the cultivator, so the talisman formation will arrange many tests to select outstanding talents, he added. Sister Key's talent for cultivation is not outstanding. Maybe she will stop at the foundation building stage and cannot exert the full power of the talisman formation inheritance. My suggestion is to first concentrate the family's financial resources to help Sister Key complete the foundation building stage. After the foundation building stage, Her lifespan will double, and she can calmly wait for the next genius of the Yan family. The talisman formation is different from the ordinary formation. Like Kinran, although he is only at the 9th level of key training, he can arrange a mysterious formation, which is as powerful as half of the foundation building stage. As for the talisman array, it will produce the effect of your cultivation level. Perhaps this path can directly lead to the refining of the void, but you must also have the talent to cultivate to the refining of the void. The advantage of the talisman array is that it can enhance the cultivator's own combat power and eliminate the shortcomings of traditional arrays, such as the need to arrange in advance and the inability to move. After hearing this, Liu Yuxi nodded thoughtfully. It should be so. Now that there is a spiritual mine as a guarantee, there are a lot of spiritual stones coming in every month. In addition to the elixirs and foundation building pills refined by Yu and Linking, our Yan family is also able to support a foundation building cultivator. This quota will be given to her first. Liu Yuxi was not worried that Yan Lingyu would not be able to achieve the foundation building stage. In her opinion, even without the assistance of the foundation building pill, the latter could successfully break through the shackles with his ability. The matter of Yan Lingyu was decided by the two of them. Only the two of them knew about this. Then, Yan Lingyu took out several storage bags and said, "Clan Elder Liu, these are my gains from this trip, including many skills, magic tools and elixirs, and a precious wooden evil spirit. If you have the opportunity to continue to advance, use this evil spirit." Handing the items to the other party, Yan Lingyu continued, "With the development of the Yan family, the previous distribution system should be changed. Our Yan family should also use the merit system like those big forces. We can build a merit hall to let the clan members work for the family and in exchange for rewards. This will also enhance the cohesion of the clan members." These spiritual objects caught Liu Yuxi off guard. A rough estimate is that they are worth at least 100,000 spiritual stones. Many foundation building cultivators cannot take them out at once. But the other party was willing to take them all out. Because of Yan Lingyu's ability, the Yan family's strength has increased several times. She looked at the handsome young man in front of her and thought of a familiar figure in her mind. Yan Lingyu and her master Yan Ping are too similar. Sometimes she even wondered if this Lingyu was Yan Ping's reincarnation. Of course, this idea was finally laughed off. Liu Yuxi continued to listen to Yan Lingyu's words slowly. "Elder, now that the Yan family has developed, it is impossible to live in peace. Even if you have no ambition, others will exclude you and intimidate you, so you must find ways to strengthen yourself, and if you want to make steady progress, it is very important to receive information. I found that the Yan family is too closed. We have heard about many things in the cultivation world from hearsay, and we can't even tell the truth from the false. The Yan family must establish its own intelligence organization, so that we can act faster than others." Liu Yuxi nodded and said, "You are right. The head of the family also mentioned this to me. We are also preparing a secret line in the Xianayan Pavilion to receive all kinds of intelligence. This is not enough. The Xianayan Pavilion has some reputation in Yingzhou at most, but it seems unknown in the entire Xiaonan County, not to mention that it is so big that it has reached the territory of the Daqian dynasty. If we only receive information from one place, we will eventually sit in the well and watch the world, and not think about making progress." Yan Lingyu's eyes were bright and took the initiative. In fact, since Yan Lingyu entered the Xinjiang Pavilion, he has been making suggestions. "Well, Yingshan is smart and has a wide network of contacts. We can arrange him to do this," Liu Yuxi said. Yan Lingyu's expression was still solemn. He said, "It's not enough to have an intelligence organization. Our Yan family must also have the ability to intervene. You can find out where there are benefits and what use it is. At most, you can be an intelligence dealer. Only when you can really turn intelligence into actual benefits is the ultimate goal of setting up an intelligence organization. We should branch out at the right time. Establishing a branch elsewhere requires manpower and material resources." The Yan family was originally stretched to its limits, with internal and external troubles, and could not consider these at all. Even the Yan family in Beatty City could not support it, so how could they develop in other places? Unless they aimed to move the whole family. But now with the support of the Princess Mansion, the younger generation including Yan Lingyu, Linking, Lingshang, etc. have grown up, and the time is ripe. The Qinbai Ma family has close contacts with us. We can divide a part of the clan in Nanhei County, Liu Yuxi said after pondering for a moment. "No, I have already planned to place clan members in Qingling County, the border between the southern prefectures and the central plains. The terrain there is favorable, and it is well connected and a major transportation route. Moreover, I am familiar with Meng Zi from the Wuziman of Qingling County. He is kind and can protect my Yan family members. Then send Yinglian, Liu Yuxi suddenly suggested. Yinglian is popular with women, and without the constraints of the family, he can better expand his branches. But we have to worry that in a few decades, the Qingling branch will become the main branch. That's the ability of fourth uncle. Yan Lingyu understood the joke of the elders. Fourth uncle Yan Yinglian knows how to get along with everyone. He can take care of several women at the same time and make them obedient. He is the only one who follows him. In terms of handling interpersonal relationships, he can be regarded as the best in the Yan family. Letting him develop a branch can also make people feel at ease. After Yan Lingyu talked with Liu Yuxi about some family affairs, he was ready to say goodbye. Elder Lingyu, I have had some realizations recently and am ready to break through to the foundation building stage. That's great. Lingyu, go to the Chengxin cave in the back mountain. It's quiet and remote there, and it's the core of the formation arranged by Qinran. There, you can break through with peace of mind. Liu Yuxi was overjoyed to see that the Yan family was going to have another foundation building cultivator. Chapter 78 Lingyu Foundation Building, Strength Changes. After coming out of Xinjiang Pavilion, Yan Lingyu went to see his fourth uncle Yan Yinglian. He told the latter about the clan's plan, and the latter accepted it with pleasure and regarded it as an important task. Yan Lingyu gave some of the materials to his fourth uncle, and personally wrote a letter, asking his fourth uncle to hand it over to Meng Zi of Wuziman in Qingling County. Then, he returned to his residence and began to prepare for the foundation building. He announced the retreat in advance and asked the clan members not to disturb him, and then moved to Chengxin Cave with the necessary spiritual objects. Chengxin Cave is the foundation of the formation of Keishuling, which contains a trace of the residual power of the four-sided soul-locking formation. Although the original four-sided soul-locking formation was damaged, part of the formation base was still preserved. With the help of Qinran and a formation master from the county lord's mansion, it was repaired. This made the spiritual energy in Chengxin Cave particularly rich, worthy of the name of Chengxin. The interior of the cave was smooth and flat, and the light was bright because of various spiritual objects. Yan Lingyu took out some auxiliary pills from the storage bag. There was no foundation building pill among these pills. Yan Lingyu had no intention of using the foundation building pill from the beginning. Although he had never heard of the difference between taking the foundation building pill and building the foundation on his own. But not hearing of it does not mean that it does not exist. Perhaps the Yan family is too low level to understand. Perhaps taking the foundation building pill has no effect on the foundation building stage, but it may affect the future golden core realm and nascent soul realm, etc. Now that Yan Lingyu has the opportunity to cultivate the golden core, he still has to be conservative. Moreover, the Yan family's reserve of foundation building pills is not sufficient. One more pill will be very good for the whole family. Thinking of this, Yan Lingyu took 2 pills of nourishing qi, and then sat on the ground to meditate, regulate his breath, adjust his body to the best state, and welcome the spiritual energy infusion. Soon, a month passed. In the Immortal Cave, Yan Lingyu's Hengshui spirit body and spirit body source were opened at the same time. With the blessing of these 2 things, he was able to operate the Zhuangxi Shui Mianju faster. This upper-level technique obtained from the Zhang family played its full effect in his hands. With the blessing of rapid recovery of cultivation, the last shackles of the key training stage have been touched. Pop a light sound. The spiritual energy around Yan Lingyu began to run wild, especially the water spiritual energy around him, almost forming a huge vortex. Coupled with the other 2 small vortices in his body, at this moment, the spiritual energy around him is extremely rich. Yan Lingyu closed his eyes and concentrated, holding his breath, and began to systematically guide the spiritual energy to gather on the top of his head, quasi-spiritual energy infusion, changing his physique. The spiritual energy was like a dragon entering the water, instantly pouring in from the top of his head. For a moment, Yan Lingyu felt that his 8 meridians were being washed and washed. Starting from the head, the body seemed to be about to split, and the pain was unbearable. But fortunately, he had experience in foundation building in his previous life, so he was prepared at this time. While gritting his teeth and persisting, he secretly opened the Rinshu Yin Lei, close to the skin, to protect the tendons and veins. The spiritual energy was still pouring in. Perhaps it was because Yan Lingyu himself had strong magic power, which made the foundation building process longer and more intense than that of ordinary people. Fortunately, there is a gathering formation at home, otherwise the surrounding spiritual energy may not be enough, resulting in the forced interruption of the foundation building. But this is also a good thing, as it can lay a very solid foundation for him. Only with a solid foundation can future practice go smoothly. Yan Lingyu crushed the pills for concentrating mind and nourishing qi in his mouth, and the powder flowed down his esophagus, turning into streams of warm currents flowing through his body, making up for the damage caused by the spiritual energy filing his body. Yan Lingyu gritted his teeth and persisted. He had a premonition that the foundation building would soon succeed. Ding! With a crisp sound, a layer of ripples composed of spiritual energy spread out to the surroundings with Yan Lingyu as the center. Even if the spiritual energy ripples were blocked by the stone wall, they still spread to the outside world. This change can be found within a radius of 10 miles. At this time, in the Xinjiang Pavilion on the top of Hengshui Peak, Liu Yuxi, who was reading a book at her desk, suddenly felt something in her heart and smiled. It seems that Lingyu succeeded, the hidden worries in her heart were put aside. In the Immortal Cave, Yan Lingyu felt the changes in his body and exhaled a breath of turbid air with satisfaction. His total mana increased more than tenfold, and it was more condensed. Compared with his previous life, when he had just entered the foundation building stage, the mana alone was twice as much as before. If all kinds of high-level Taoist techniques and spirit bodies were added, Yan Lingyu's strength at this moment was more than 4 times that of the same stage in his previous life. Now if you were to fight against an ordinary cultivator in the middle stage of the foundation building stage, he would not necessarily lose for a while. Finally, I'm back to the foundation building stage. The joy of the breakthrough still made Yan Lingyu smile. After adapting and adjusting his breath for a while, when his body returned to the best condition, Yan Lingyu slowly stood up. He did not leave the Immortal Cave, but took out some spiritual objects. Among them was a pocket-sized umbrella. This was the spiritual weapon obtained from Changzihan, the mountain and river painting ink umbrella. When Yan Lingyu was still practicing qi, he only refined it and did not fully master it. Now that he has reached the foundation building stage, he has some free time, so he just sacrificed and refined this spiritual umbrella again. Another half-day passed. Yan Lingyu had a new understanding of the mountain and river painting ink umbrella, and he could use it as if it were his own arm. With a handy weapon in hand, his strength rose another level. Then, he still did not move, but looked at a book. This was another harvest from Changzihan, which was the Zhuan-level attacking Taoist art, Hidden Flow Spirit Finger. When he was on the 3rd floor of the Fuzan Hall, he did not have much time to practice. So it was placed at the bottom of the storage bag. Now that the time is right, Yan Lingyu can just use it to make up for his lack of offensive means. Concentrate on Hidden Flow Spirit Finger. Because of the Hengshui spirit body, which blesses the practice of water-based Taoist arts, Yan Lingyu practiced this Taoist art to a small success after 7 days. This is not like Rinshu Yinli and the source of the spirit body. They are the Taoist arts that come with the Zhuangxi Shumianju. As long as Yan Lingyu reaches a certain level of cultivation, he can naturally comprehend and master them. This kind of Taoist art that is not built into the method takes a lot of time to practice. It's just that Yan Lingyu has been a human for 2 lives and has memories of his previous life, so he has many means during the key training period. Now that he has successfully established his foundation, many low-level Taoist arts are no longer needed. Looking at himself, Yan Lingyu now has several Zhuan-level Taoist arts, Renshu Yinli and Lingti Yuan Liu. After he broke through the foundation, the effect was significantly improved. The Hidden Flow Spirit Finger is not far from the great success. In addition to the river stepping technique in his previous life, there are 2 top-level yellow-level Taoist arts, Zhuanshan technique and Shuiao Xingqian 8 steps. He also has many methods. A total of 4 Zhuan-level Taoist arts have far surpassed the cultivators of the same level. To be honest, it is really hard to judge who is stronger between the current Yan Lingyu and the old Yan Ping. And even so, Yan Lingyu still has room for improvement. After he has mastered the Hidden Flow Spirit Finger, he still has Taoist arts to continue practicing. When he and Hai Chongyang and others broke through the 4-sided soul locking array, Yan Lingyu not only gained control of the spirit veins, but also won a Zhuan-level high-level Taoist art, a mid-grade spiritual weapon, and a Zhuan-level evil spirit. These are still entrusted to the princess's mansion, waiting for Yan Lingyu to choose personally. After everything was ready, Yan Lingyu decided to leave. Chapter 79 Foundation Building Meeting, Invitation from the Yan family. Hai family in Yazhou. In a separate courtyard full of restrictions in the Hai family, the handsome Hai Chongyang slowly opened his eyes from meditation and exhaled a breath of gray air. After returning from Keshuling, he learned from his mistakes, practiced hard, and finally completed the foundation building half a month ago. In the past half month, he has been constantly improving himself. He has a deeper understanding of the Hai family's unique skill Lianao Huangquan Sutra. After entering the foundation building stage, in just 10 days, he has mastered the mysterious Taoist arts brought by this skill, and his strength has been improved again. Now, the White Whale Sea King halberd is officially owned by Hai Chongyang, and the power of the ultimate killing Taoist art of the Hades possession can also be better exerted. Hai Chongyang is like two different people before and after the foundation building, and even his overall temperament has changed a lot. From the original bohemian to calm, he is very similar to the guy he met before. Then, Hai Chongyang stretched out his hand, and a letter floated to his chest. Yan family? Foundation building meeting? Yan Lingyu is finally back, and he has also become a foundation building cultivator. His cultivation speed is really exaggerated. I saw him enter the 9th level of key training. It has only been 3 or 4 months, and he has made a huge improvement. After coming out of Keshuling, Hai Chongyang has been paying attention to the Yan family and Yan Lingyu's situation. He sent people to inquire about the news of the Yan family. But the result was unexpected. He originally thought that the family power that could cultivate a genius like Yan Lingyu should have its own special and powerful features. However, there was no such thing. In fact, the Yan family had only 2 foundation building cultivators in total. He also found out the identities of the other 2 Yan family members in the Battle of Keshuling. They were Yan Yinglian, the 6th generation of the Yan family, and Yan Lingzhang, the 7th generation of the Yan family. These 2 people are also the new generation of the Yan family who can show off a little. As one of the overlords of Yazhou, the Hai family has 13 foundation building cultivators, including 2 in the late foundation building period. The gap between the 2 families is particularly huge. This makes Hai Chongyang more interested in Yan Lingyu. At the same time, he also found information from Taiyi sect and discovered that Yan Lingyu's spirit body might be a Hengshui spirit body or a true water spirit body. Both of these spirit bodies are outstanding among water spirit bodies, so it is no wonder that the former has such achievements. In Hai Chongyang's view, the Yan family is still weak. But in the Battle of Keshuling, the exquisite cooperation of the Yan family members still left a deep impression on him. Now that this family has a rising star like Yan Lingyu, and Keshuling is its foundation, it has shown a rising trend. Therefore, regarding the foundation building meeting proposed by the other party, it was mentioned in the letter that this was not only a celebration banquet for Yan Lingyu, but also a meeting. Hai Chongyang decided to go there in person. There are more reasons why the Hai family attaches importance to the Yan family. Since leaving Keshuling, Hai Chongyang also found that the princess mansion and the Yan family are very close. Qin Ran, the follower of the little princess, simply never came out of the Yan family and helped them build the formation. This made Hai Chongyang think deeply, and there must be something he didn't know about. Yan Lingyu, it just so happens that you and I have both established our foundation, so let's compete again. Hai Chongyang's eyes flashed with a competitive flame. Even if the Yan family hadn't sent this invitation, he would have come to their door sooner or later. In the cave of Keshuling, the frustration of being suppressed by Yan Lingyu has always lingered in his heart. Now that he has achieved success in cultivation, he naturally wants to get back at them. On the other side, in Kangtong sect, Jeju. In a cave in the mountains, the tall Lin Zixin stared at the letter in his hand in amazement. This letter was sent by the Yan family. The letter invited him to attend Yan Lingyu's foundation building meeting. Yan Lingyu has established his foundation? Didn't he just reach the 9th level of key training? It's not that fast even if you take pills as candy pills. At this time, Lin Zixin looked bitter. He knew that he was restrained by Yan Lingyu during the key training stage, and he couldn't regain his dignity with his key training level. So he thought that he should quickly reach the foundation building stage, and use his cultivation to suppress the guy who ruined his reputation. Originally in Kangtong sect, he, Lin Zixin, could still be lazy and watch his senior and junior sisters take a bath. However, after being stimulated by the other party, he also abandoned many distracting thoughts and concentrated on cultivation. Unfortunately, at this point, he is still one step away from the foundation building stage. What should I do? The Yan family has found me, and they must have found Hai Chonggang. At that time, I was the only one who didn't build a foundation among the 3 people in Kaishiling. If I go there like this, won't I be laughed at to death? Lin Zixin's thick eyebrows were completely twisted together. However, he still had to go to this foundation building meeting. Not to mention that the sect has already taken the Yan family seriously. Yan Lingyu alone is worth Lin Zixin's going. He knew that Hai Chonggang would definitely go, but if Hai Chonggang and Hai Chonggang had a discussion and exchanged their experiences, then he, Lin Zixin, would really be left behind. His copper bell-sized eyes kept spinning, and suddenly he thought of an idea. My junior uncle has been showing great power recently, and he keeps looking for people to spar with. He doesn't challenge the older generation, and treats me as a meat bun all day long. I just tricked him into meeting Yan Lingyu. Lin Zixin's junior uncle is called Ruan Jinheng. It has been exactly 1 year since he broke through the foundation building stage. After a year of precipitation, he has practiced 2 Zhuan-level Taoist arts, 1 major success and 1 minor success. Recently, he has been looking for people to spar with in Kangtong sect in a majestic manner. This is also good for body-refining cultivators, who don't have to worry about the severity of their attacks. This is hard for other cultivators in Kangtong sect, especially Lin Zixin, the first person below the foundation building stage. He has long held a grudge. After all, Yan Lingyu can beat him up at most once, but Ruan Jinheng can play tricks on him every day. Thinking of this, Lin Zixin suddenly felt that his hairy brain was extremely smart. So, without saying anything, he set off directly, escaped from the cave, and headed towards the middle of a mountain. There was a small house there. Before Lin Zixin arrived, a heavy voice came from the house. Zixin, you came at the right time. I have recently gained some insights in Longyuan Patient Palm. You can practice with me. The former naturally would not agree. He did not pay much attention to the other party's words. According to the rehearsal in his mind, he said with a sad face, Little master, you have to make the decision for me. After that, Lin Zixin added fuel to the fire, saying how great Yan Lingyu was and how arrogant he was. What? How ridiculous. A strong man with broad skin appeared in the field of vision. He looked like a smaller version of Lin Zixin, and even looked smaller than Yan Lingyu. But there was a faint light flashing in his muscles, which contained terrifying power. My sandbag can also be used by anyone? Zixin, don't worry, master, I will help you settle the account right now. Ruan Jinheng's voice was particularly loud. But the word sandbag made the former grit his teeth. Originally, Lin Zixin wanted to sit back and watch the 2 tigers fight, and he would be happy no matter which side lost. But now he wants Yan Lingyu to win. Although that guy is annoying, at least he speaks nicely. Unlike his junior uncle, who calls people sandbags all the time. The Yan family sent an invitation to my sect to participate in their foundation building event. Hai Chonggang from the Hai family will also be there. Junior uncle, you have to win glory for my Kangtong sect, Lin Zixin added. Of course, Ruan Jinheng is 31 years old this year, Hai Chonggang is 28, and Yan Lingyu is over 25, so they can be considered the same generation. In the final analysis, Kangtong sect, which has the Jinden Taoist tradition, is more profound than the Yan and Hai families. Chapter 80. The Zhang family decided to relocate. Yingzhou, Beijing City, Zhang family ancestral home. A group of high-level members of the Zhang family gathered in the secret pavilion, including 3 foundation building cultivators, Zhang Zhengai, Zhang Zhenqi, and Zhang Qixin, as well as the Zhang family alchemist, the Zhang family patriarch, and the elders of each clan hall. Everyone had an uneasy and solemn look on their faces. Among the crowd was a hunched one-armed old man, who was the highest controller of the Zhang family, Zhang Zhengai. At this time, his expression was as cold as snow, and no one dared to look directly at him. The Zhang family has received a secret report that Yan Lingyu, the 7th generation ancestor of the Yan family, built his foundation yesterday and held a foundation building meeting to invite major forces near Yingzhou. The Bai family, the Lu family, and the State Lord's mansion have all received invitations, but the Zhang family has not. The people of the Zhang family also know why this is the case. Under normal circumstances, although Yan Lingyu has successfully built his foundation and poses a huge threat, it will not cause the Zhang family to be in a hurry. However, the Yan family actually invited a number of foreign forces such as the Hai family of Yazhao, the Kongtong sect of Zhezhao, and the Ma family of Qinbi to this foundation building meeting. This shocked the Zhang family's top leaders at the wide network of contacts, but also made them panic. What is the ultimate purpose of the Yan family holding this foundation building meeting? Is it to gather a group of masters to destroy his Zhang family? At this time, Zhang Zhangyi had to take it into consideration. You know, the number of foundation building masters sent by these forces, plus the ones the Yan family has, can reach at least 6, including Liu Yuxi, a mid-stage foundation building cultivator, and several geniuses. If they join forces, even if the Zhang family's protective formation is strong, it can't withstand the other party's joint attack. And the Zhang family also heard that there is a mysterious formation master in the Yan family. If this formation master also helps, the Zhang family members who stay in the formation will become a turtle in a jar. Now the situation is urgent and may be related to the survival of the family. Zhang Zhangyi must make a decision. He glanced at the panic-stricken clansman, took a deep breath and said, "Let the whole clan evacuate Yingzhou." As soon as these words came out, all the senior members of the Zhang family, including Zhang Zhenqi, were shocked. But after the shock, they were helpless. They were not stupid. The rise of the Yan family was unstoppable. The Zhang family had a blood feud with the Yan family. After the other party developed, they would definitely not let their family go. Migrating as soon as possible would be the best result. At this moment, everyone in the Zhang family had given up the possibility of competing with the Yan family. In their view, the young Yan Lingyu would always be a mountain they could not cross. And this mountain would get higher and higher. "Elder, when will the plan be carried out?" a clan member asked. Zhang Zhangyi waved his sleeves and said resolutely, "Notify the clan members tonight and take away everything that can be taken away. We don't want this mansion anymore, Elder. We still have a lot of property scattered all over Yingzhou. We can't gather them all in one night. If we leave like this, the loss will be too great. My Zhang family's 600 years of savings will be reduced by 50% in an instant." The head of the Zhang family's property hall stepped forward and answered anxiously. Zhang Zhangyi's eyes flickered, and he said without hesitation, "Don't want them all," he continued. "Money is something outside of one's body. Now is the biggest crisis that my Zhang family has encountered in hundreds of years. When we have collected all the money, the Yan family will have sharpened their knives and waited at our door. By then, no one in the family can escape. Now, the Yan family has just sent out invitations. After the guests arrive, they need to gather together to form the Yan family's combat power and lobby for a while. It will take at least 3 hours for a foundation-building cultivator to escape from Qiashiling to Peking City. Therefore, the golden time left for our Zhang family to escape is about 6 hours in total. Within these 6 hours, we must disappear from the Yan family's sight. Fortunately, 5 years ago, I made some arrangements and invested huge investments to plant branches in the 3 southwestern counties. Now that they have developed, we can rush over." Although Zhang Zhangyi said so, the Zhang family members were still unwilling, especially the young and hot-blooded ones, who vowed to perish with the Yan family. Of course, such radicals were knocked out at the first time to avoid trouble for the family's migration. Finally, Zhang Zhangyi gave an order helplessly: the whole family should relocate. 100 miles outside Peking City, in Hefang Forest. This place is where the battle between Yan and Zhang took place. There are still traces left around, and the new trees have not yet grown. At this moment, in the dim moonlight, in the Hefang Forest, there is a huge caravan consisting of dozens of people. This caravan is disguised by the Zhang family. This is one of the migrations of the Zhang family, led by Zhang Zhangyi himself. Since he wants to escape, Zhang Zhangyi, who is old and smart, naturally can't put all his eggs in one basket. Even if the probability of the Yan family taking action at this moment is extremely low. But just in case, the Zhang family still divides the family into 3 large teams and several small teams, led by 3 foundation-building monks. Strive to let as many clansmen as possible survive and not be caught in one net. Zhang Zhangyi, who follows in the middle of the team, releases his spiritual consciousness as much as possible, carefully sensing the slightest movement around. Suddenly, his face changed drastically, his aura surged, he stepped on the ground with 1 foot, and the whole person soared into the air. At the same time, the Zhang family's treasure, the Shiangsu Linglong Tower, was instantly summoned, and the light was bright, and the huge phantom of the ancient tower emerged. Zhang Zhangai's eyes were filled with the determination to die, and he sent a message to his clansmen to flee in all directions, and he would hold the enemy back. Then, he looked at a figure in the void, gritted his teeth and squeezed out a name, Yan Lingyu. Yes, the person who came was Yan Lingyu. He did invite a group of forces, and the foundation building meeting was indeed crucial and affected the Yan family's major events, but none of these were more important than destroying the Zhang family. The Zhang family must die. From the moment he completed the foundation building, he had already had the intention to kill the Zhang family. Moreover, Yan Lingyu also had the strength. He deliberately released the news today, naturally predicting that the Zhang family would escape. How could Yan Lingyu let the tiger go back to the mountain? He immediately rushed to Peking City with Liu Yuxi and waited outside the city. Bang! A black object was thrown out by Yan Lingyu and smashed towards Zhang Zhangai at a very fast speed. The latter just wanted to dodge, but then he stopped with fear in his eyes and caught the black shadow. It was Zhang family's foundation building cultivator, Zhang Qixian. Elder, run, he's too strong. Zhang Qixian used up his last bit of strength and said the words, and then he was silent. Qixian, Zhang Zhangai shouted sadly. At the same time, he was shocked. What happened to the family team escorted by Zhang Qixian? Why was Zhang Qixian captured, and he didn't receive any news? Did all the family members over there die? What about Zhang Zhangai's situation? Who did it? Was it Yan Lingyu in front of him? Fear and doubt filled the heart of the old man. Don't worry, old ghost Zhang, I'm the only one here, you can try to kill me. Yan Lingyu in the distance saw that the other party was stunned and said faintly. And after the sound came the dark green and thick Renshu Yinli, his most skilled Taoist technique, which had already struck Zhang Zhangai. This is Renshu Yinli. The latter was horrified and quickly retreated, feeling gloomy. The other party had indeed mastered the Zhuangxi Shumianju. The Zhang family's understanding of the Zhuangxi Shumianju might even be better than Yan Lingyu's in some aspects. At this moment, Zhang Zhangai felt a great deal of regret, and he also understood that he could not leave today. So, he decided to burn himself and send the other clansmen out. Chapter 81, All the means are used, Zheng Yi is executed. In the void, Zhang Zhangai, the ancestor of the Zhang family, had a solemn face. He protected the Shiangsu Linglong Tower in front of his chest, and added 2 defensive Taoist spells and a magic shield. He was in a completely defensive posture. His idea was to delay Yan Lingyu. The current situation is that Zhang Zhangai laid down the defense, and the other party could not break through for a while, and the Zhang family members fled in all directions. Hefanglan is not like the large plain outside Peking City. The vegetation here is lush. Even if a few cultivators in the foundation building period conduct a carpet search, they may not be able to find the fish that slipped through the net. If Yan Lingyu chooses to hunt down the low-level members of the Zhang family at this moment, then Zhang Zhangai can take advantage of the situation to get away. In his opinion, this is a dilemma for Yan Lingyu. The high-level combat power of the Zhang family and the future of the Zhang family, the other party can only choose one. However, although the ancestor of the Zhang family had beautiful ideas in his heart, he misjudged one point, that is, Yan Lingyu's strength. In the void, Yan Lingyu controlled the Yinlei of Renshu, constantly hovering outside the tortoise shell set up by Zhang Zhangai. At the same time, he flipped his right hand, and a small umbrella with black and white stripes and a spiritual charm appeared in his hand. The Hengshui spirit body was activated, and the strong mana was injected, and the spiritual umbrella opened instantly. With a mountain and river painting umbrella as the center, a huge black and white landscape painting spread out, covering several miles around. Under the power of the spiritual weapon, all the members of the Zhang family were trapped in this painting and could not get out. Just like the Yan family members suffered from the pressure of the tower shadow, there was only powerless despair. What kind of spiritual weapon is this? What else is he going to do? Zhang Zhangai saw this scene, and a bad feeling surged into his heart. Then, 2 small runes floated around Yan Lingyu. One was the extremely sharp kidney water sword rune. Although Yan Lingyu could not master the small 5-god sword rune formation, he could drive this water sword rune like an arm. The other one was naturally the water heart seal. As soon as the 2 talisman arrays appeared, the Zhang family members became lambs to be slaughtered. Wherever the kidney water sword talisman passed, there were screams, The shock force of the water heart Dao seal made the Zhang family unable to make even the last sound. The idle foundation building cultivators were slaughtering the low-level key training period. Why is Yan Lingyu so strong? Zhang Zhangai was furious, and his clansmen were dying one by one. In an instant, he fully activated the blood-burning technique. In the last battle, he lost a lot of life. If he activated it again this time, when the blood-burning technique disappeared, he would die. But at this moment, it was related to the life and death of the Zhang family. Zhang Zhangai had to do his best to stop the opponent's offensive and open an exit from the mountain and river painting to escort the clansmen away. Now, the battle was fierce, and Zhang Zhangai did not notice that there were other people peeping around. From this point of view, Yan Lingyu was really the only one here. He had a chance to do what he wanted. At the same time, Zhang Zhangai also reacted. He still underestimated Yan Lingyu's strength. At the beginning of the migration, he had considered that the Yan family would ignore the foundation building meeting and ambush the Zhang family. But in this case, the Yan family could only send out Liu Yuxi and Yan Lingyu in advance. If it was just these two people, the Zhang family would not suffer too much loss. And they underestimated Yan Lingyu. The people of the Zhang family had already overestimated the latter. They assumed that Yan Lingyu would be able to fully cultivate the Zhuangxi Shui Mianju as soon as he broke through the foundation building, and that he had one or two spiritual tools to protect himself. This was already the limit of their understanding. But they never expected that Yan Lingyu had so many tricks, and that rune seal was unknown, and even Zhang Zhangai did not dare to try it himself. Moreover, the Hengshui Yinlei and spiritual tools used by the other party were much more powerful than expected. The Zhang family was already helpless. Open it for me. Zhang Zhangai's eyebrows and beard were raised, and he looked extremely old. For a moment, his body was emptied of blood and qi, and his wrinkled skin and bones were attached to each other, looking miserable. He personally triggered a light ball as tall as a human, and blasted it towards the weak point of the ink painting of mountains and rivers, trying to break the gap. However, Yan Lingyu would never let him succeed. The handsome man sneered, stepped on the ground with one foot, and with it as the center, an invisible ripple turned into a dragon and went towards the light ball. The two collided in the air and both broke into pieces. This is the unique skill left by Yan Lingyu in his previous life, the Zhuan-level Taoist art of stepping on the river. Zhang Zhangai was not reconciled to the single attack and wanted to make another move. But at this moment, Yan Lingyu no longer gave the other party a chance. The two vortices opened at the same time, and the power of Hengshui Yinlei was even deeper, like a marrow quagmire, completely wrapping the spirit body phantom, like a giant beast, swallowing Zhang Zhangai into his belly, and the latter only saw dark. Today, Hengshui Yinlei has reached 5,000 Quan, and the huge force presses the Xiangsun Linglong Tower to creak. After all, Zhang Zhangai is using the cultivation of the early stage of foundation building to activate this one-level middle-grade spiritual weapon, and he has begun to be unable to do so. But compared to the predicament he encountered, the Zhang family outside was miserable. Even a person who had practiced Qi at the 9th level could not block an attack from Yan Lingyu. For a time, both the main line and the servants became the dead souls under the talisman. Yan Lingyu was not in a hurry. Zhang Zhangai's tortoise shell was indeed hard enough, but after he cleared the impurities outside, he could concentrate on making this old guy. Although the Zhang family ancestor and the Hengshui Yinlei could not see the outside, he knew from the intermittent messages from his spiritual consciousness that all the clansmen had died and the situation was over. He wanted to pass the message to Zhang Zhangai now, but it was almost impossible. Zhang Zhangai finally knew how Zhang Qixian died. He was killed by Yan Lingyu alone. He was extremely regretful at this moment. It was not that he regretted being hostile to the Yan family, but that he did not suppress the Yan family more severely. When the Yan family was weak, such as in the Battle of Black Mountain City, the Zhang family should have gone all out regardless of the losses and completely killed the other party. In this way, it would not be like what is happening now, raising a tiger to cause trouble and bring about the destruction of the family. Yan Lingyu, you will be buried with my Zhang family, Zhang Zhangai roared in anger with tears in his eyes. The light of Xiangsun Linglong Tower was bright again, and it was too strong. At the same time, Zhang Zhangai's skin was red, and the spiritual energy in his body was constantly condensing. He was going to self-destruct. Or a double self-destruction of the spiritual weapon and the physical body. He wanted to die with the other party. Under the power of such spiritual energy fusion, let alone Yan Lingyu, even if he came in the late stage of foundation building, he would have to leave with one less part. Moreover, Yan Lingyu was not far from the other party and was still in the center of the explosion. It was too late for him to escape. But there was no fear in his eyes. He gently moved his left hand, and in an instant, two dark blue lights lit up in the Hengshui Yinlei. Boom boom in Zhang Zhanggai's horrified eyes, the tower shadow defense was instantly broken, and two unknown attacks came. Instantly, his brow and chest were pierced, and he lost his vitality. The self-explosive aura that had just condensed also dissipated. This attack was a mysterious assassination technique, Hidden Flow Spirit Finger. From the beginning, Yan Lingyu had hidden two Hidden Flow Spirit Fingers in the Hengshui Yinlei, waiting for an opportunity to pursue the opponent's flaws. At the same time, with the constant nourishment of the Hengshui Yinlei, the Hidden Flow Spirit Fingers hidden in the outside world not only remained powerful, but also received blessings, and the penetration force was even greater. There was also a mutual promotion effect between the Hengshui Yinlei and the Hidden Flow Spirit Fingers. This was a combination skill. Huh? Yan Lingyu exhaled. Zhang Zhanggui was killed on the spot. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 82, Zhang Family Destroyed, Returning to the Family. In the void, Yan Lingyu took back all the spiritual tools and Taoist magic, and then a ball of spiritual fire spurted out, burning Zhang Zhanggui to death, leaving only two bulging storage bags. After taking the storage bag, he explored it with his spiritual sense and found that there were many spiritual objects in it. Most of the Zhang family's assets were in it. Yan Lingyu smiled. Sure enough, if you want to get rich, it's faster to kill people and rob treasures. Then, he descended and looked at the devastation around him with a calm expression. He finished off the remains of the Zhang family one by one, and confiscated a lot of spiritual objects. After confiscating the remnants, Yan Lingyu looked in a direction, stepped on the water and star 8 steps, and turned into a shadow and left. On the other side, in the mountainous area outside Peking City, Liu Yuxi, the old man of the Yan family, was suspended in the air, looking down at the Zhang family. Among them, Zhang Zhenki, the foundation-building cultivator of the Zhang family, was already seriously injured, and even lost a thigh. Under the huge pressure, he couldn't even stop the bleeding. His robe was stained with blood, not only his own blood, but also that of his clansmen. Zhang Zhenki was not far from death. He looked at Liu Yuxi with resentment and said, "If I, Zhang Zhenki, die today, your Yan family will be destroyed tomorrow." Although he could not beat the other party, and it was even difficult to protect his clansmen, he held Liu Yuxi for a very long time. This Yan family's mid-stage foundation-building cultivator appeared on Zhang Zhenki's side, and the pressure on the other two large forces of the Zhang family who were fleeing would be greatly reduced. In this way, his mission was also completed. Suddenly, Zhang Zhenki's pupils shrank, and another figure descended from the sky and landed beside Liu Yuxi. The person who came was Yan Lingyu. Seeing Yan Lingyu coming, Liu Yuxi asked, "Have you dealt with everything, including old ghost Zhang?" "No one survived, Alice, Lingyu, you are really strong, and I have lost a few loaches." Liu Yuxi took back the spiritual weapon and said helplessly. The two did not use voice transmission, but were talking across the air. Zhang Zhenki, who was below, could hear it clearly. He did not believe what the other party said. He felt that this was the Yan family insulting him and a manifestation of the Yan family's exasperation. How could his powerful second brother Zhang Zhanggui die? If the other two large forces were wiped out, wouldn't he become the only one in the Zhang family? Once he died, the Zhang family would be declared exterminated. For a moment, Zhang Zhenki could not accept it. "You don't have to set a trap to provoke me. I will never surrender. My Zhang family will definitely rise again." Puff. Yan Lingyu glanced at the other party, and the hidden spirit finger directly pierced the extremely weak Zhang Zhenki's eyebrows. At this point, all the senior leaders of the Zhang family died. At this moment, Yan Lingyu and Liu Yuxi both felt as if they were in another world, and an indescribable sense of comfort rose in their hearts. Especially Yan Lingyu. In his previous life, when he settled in Yingzhou, he didn't know how many times he encountered attacks from the Zhang family. Even in his previous life, he was worried about his family. Now that the Zhang family is basically destroyed, the poison buried in the hearts of all the Yan family members has finally been removed. They can also relax a little. Liu Yuxi looked at the man in front of her, feeling a lot of emotion in her heart. Master, what you can't do, your descendants have done. Master, the Zhang family is destroyed, did you see it? Liu Yuxi slowly looked up at the boundless night sky, as if Master Yan Ping was watching her. A breeze blew past, which was the encouragement of the master to her. Elder, it's time to clean up the battlefield, a familiar voice awakened Liu Yuxi, who is recalling the past. Looking at the other party's plain appearance, the old woman thought to herself, how strong is Lingyu now? In fact, they joined forces to eliminate Zhang Kixin. At that time, Yan Lingyu showed very impressive means. But it can all be understood. Afterwards, the two separated and greeted Zhang Zhangqi and Zhang Zhangai respectively. Among the two Zhang family foundation builders, the latter is naturally more difficult to deal with. But Liu Yuxi used all her means, but only seriously injured Zhang Zhanqi, and also missed many members of the Zhang family. But Yan Lingyu was able to annihilate everyone including Zhang Zhangai, and she was extremely fast, and she was able to come to support herself. It can be seen that although Yan Lingyu had just established her foundation, her strength was already above Liu Yuxi. After that, she quickly cleaned up the battlefield, burned the corpses, and left various storage bags. The two of them roughly estimated that the spiritual stones seized alone were 40,000. The remaining martial arts books, spiritual instruments and magic tools, elixirs and talismans, and natural materials and treasures, all added up, can be worth another 400,000. The Zhang family is indeed rich, and these are just the movable properties they can move. With a real estate, it can reach at least 800,000 spiritual stones. Yan Lingyu and Liu Yuxi looked at each other and could see the surprise in each other's eyes. This batch of harvest, the spiritual stones can replenish the family treasury, and the spiritual objects can fill the major halls and courtyards of the family, which can be said to be a pot of water. But these should not be all of the Zhang family. The people who escaped earlier should have taken away some property, and several members of the Zhang family were not among them. For example, Zhang Mansion, the only young man of the new generation of the Zhang family who can show off. I think he has been secretly sent to another place for training. Zhang Zhangai's actions 5 years ago still left some sparks for his Zhang family. As for the escaped Zhang family members like Zhang Mansion, the Yan family could not spend time and effort to hunt them down and disrupt their own development. The best way is to secretly send people to investigate, and once there is a rumor, they will suppress it with thunder. And this is a long process. If the main family perishes, these branches will definitely hide their tails and hide. Don't worry, elders, my Yan family will definitely become infinitely powerful, and there is no need to be afraid of these people causing trouble, Yan Lingyu said with a firm look. Liu Yuxi nodded. Then, the two left and prepared to go home. Back to Qishiling. Yan Lingyu went straight to Qin Ran's residence. Qin Ran, who had maintained the formation for a day, was a little tired and was meditating to regulate his breath. After noticing Yan Lingyu coming, he regained consciousness. Little friend Yan, what's the matter? The relationship between the two is quite harmonious now. Yan Lingyu did not hold a grudge against the other party when he was driven into the void gap, but was grateful in his heart. To be honest, without Qin Ran's move, he might not be able to save Yan Lingyu, and he himself would not be favored by the little princess. Moreover, this is a person who can sacrifice himself for Qin Hainer. In view of the relationship between Yan Lingyu and Qin Hainer, the former has regarded Qin Ran as a member of the Yan family. Uncle Ran, just call me Lingyu from now on. Yan Lingyu has not seen Qin Ran since the foundation building, and meeting him now is also a kind of statement. Okay, Lingyu, Qin Ran showed a smile on his face. For 10 years, he watched Qin Hainer grow up and almost treated her as his own daughter. Now Qin Hainer doesn't want to see him, which makes him feel a little sad. Of course, he does not regret it, and he is even glad for his actions at that time. At the same time, Qin Ran supports Yan Lingyu and Qin Hainer to be together. He was not like Qin Henge, who did not know Yan Lingyu's character. In Qin Ran's opinion, with Yan Lingyu around, Qin Hainer would definitely be happy and well protected. Yan Lingyu had no hatred towards him at the moment, which meant that it would not take long for him and Qin Hainer to get back on good terms. Qin Ran was naturally happy. Inviting Yan Lingyu into the room, Qin Ran asked again, Lingyu, Do you have something important to ask me so late? Let's make another deal, Yan Lingyu replied. He also drew out the 2 talisman arrays that were nurtured in his sea of consciousness. Chapter 83 Sharing the Talisman Array, Tripartite Cooperation. What is this? Qin Ran looked at the small runes floating up and down, and was shocked. He could see that this was a concentrated array. This array removed the limitations of traditional arrays, and could be brewed in the body of a cultivator, greatly improving the combatability of array cultivators. Qin Ran was already talented in arrays and had a great interest in them. When he saw what Yan Lingyu offered, his eyes were completely attracted and he kept observing. Talisman array? Xianmei sect, he suddenly asked. Yes. This is what I gained from my trip to Keishuling, Yan Lingyu explained slowly, and told the other party how to get the talisman array. Of the 5 people who entered the 4-sided soul-locking array, only Yan Lingyu and Qin Hanner got it. One of them had just returned, and the other was still in a bad mood, so Qin Ran didn't know the existence of this thing at all. Qin Ran pondered for a while, and said with a solemn expression, "Why did you take this thing out? Although I really want to study the things of the talisman array, I won't exchange my life for it." He had a vague guess about Yan Lingyu's idea of taking out this thing. The boy in front of him was not someone who was willing to suffer a loss. The talisman array was indeed extremely precious, but if he really traded with the other party, who knows what kind of sin he would suffer in the future. But Yan Lingyu waved his hand and said with a smile, "Uncle Ran, don't be nervous. We agreed before that you would build the array for my Yan family for 100 years, so you are also a member of my Yan family, and it is reasonable to give some compensation. Speak human language. I want you to specially research a set of tutorials for this talisman array so that everyone in my Yan family can learn this Taoist art." Yan Lingyu retracted his smile and said sincerely. After using this inscription several times, he felt that the inscription was powerful. If every member of the clan could practice it, it would definitely improve the clan's strength to a higher level and alleviate the problem that the Yan family's foundation was not as good as other forces. However, practicing this inscription requires talent, such as Yan Lingyu's Hengshui spirit body and Yan Lingyu's own array talent. Most people who want to practice it will only get half the result with twice the effort, just like Yan Lingyu who specialized in the Muxin Dao Iron. That's why he approached Qin Ran, hoping that he could figure out the secrets of the heart seal and the sword talisman, so that his descendants could learn them more easily. Qin Ran was a genius who became a master of formations at the age of 30, so he must be able to do this. Therefore, Yan Lingyu did not hesitate to expose his adventure. After hearing this, Qin Ran's expression eased a little, but he did not accept it immediately, but said again, "Your purpose should be more than that, right? I still need you to show this method yourself," Yan Lingyu said with a gleam in his eyes. And his words also made Qin Ran truly understand his intention. As a master of formations in the Princess Mansion, Qin Ran should be a member of the Princess Mansion. If he uses the method of the Talisman Array Dao, the world will only think that the Princess Mansion has obtained the corresponding inheritance. The Princess Mansion is powerful, backed by the entire Dacian, and no one dares to move. However, if the Yan family obtains this high-level inheritance, it will definitely attract others to covet it. Yan Lingyu's idea is to let the Princess Mansion take the blame. This time, Qin Ran did not think for long, but directly answered, yes. In fact, Qin Ran did not have deep feelings for the Princess Mansion. He was only loyal to the little Princess Qin Hainer. Faced with the other party's affirmative response, Yan Lingyu breathed a sigh of relief. The matter of the inheritance of the talisman array should be completely over. Another reason for him to do this was to hide his sister Yan Lingyu. With these previous arrangements, Yan Lingyu would not attract too much suspicion when she showed her talisman array skills in the future. The next day, in the evening, the Yan family's meeting with guests ended and the banquet was disbanded. The guests of the Bai family, the Lu family, and the State Lord's mansion were all ready to return to the mansion. But Yan Lingyu kept the people of the Hai family and Guangtong sect in the reception hall of Keishu Peak. Including Yan Lingyu, Hai Chonggang, Lin Zixin, Ruan Jinheng and Qin Ran were all there. Hai Chonggang glanced around and said lightly that the environment was good. He sat down generously on a wooden chair, as if the Yan family was his Hai family, waiting for Yan Lingyu to speak. "Everyone, please take a seat." Yan Lingyu gestured with his hand and asked the servants to serve spiritual tea. After all the people were seated, Yan Lingyu said, "Today, I invite you all to come here to discuss the tripartite cooperation. Of course, these three parties do not represent the three major forces of each, but are limited to the foundation building of several of us. The first thing Yan Lingyu did after destroying the Zhang family was to make friends with other forces in exchange and cooperate. He knew that the Yan family was weak, and the Hai family and Kongtong sect's top leaders might not look down on it. Moreover, if they really cooperated with the two families, the Yan family would definitely not have the dominant power, which was also something Yan Lingyu did not want to see, so he chose to cooperate only with some of the top leaders of the two major forces. What cooperation? Ruan Jinheng, who was glaring at the side, said. He came to fight with Yan Lingyu. Why did they suddenly start to cooperate? Ruan Jinheng glanced at Lin Zixin, who was sitting next to him, as if asking what was going on. At this moment, Yan Lingyu also found the scene strange. Why did these two families look like they wanted to beat him up? He was suspicious, but he still talked about business. Business is important. If this matter is settled, the development of the Yan family will usher in a qualitative leap. At that time, the two families want to beat me for fun, so at most I will just let them go. Yan Lingyu continued to explain, we three parties have our own advantages, such as the body refining path of Brother Ruan and Brother Lin, such as Brother Hai's intelligence framework system, and the cultivation skills of my Yan family. If we cooperate with each other and learn from each other's strengths and weaknesses, it will be a good thing for all of us. Hai Chongyang was able to get information about the Hengshui spirit from the Taiyai sect of the upper sect, which shows that he is extraordinary. Besides having a better talent, what else can you do, Yan Lingyu? This is the inheritance of our family for thousands of years. It is very disadvantageous to cooperate with you, Hai Chongyang said. Unlike the two from Kongtong sect, he has roughly understood Yan Lingyu's intentions. In fact, he was indeed tempted. After all, he could bring in two powerful helpers. Although the Hai family is powerful, they are not the only one in Yazhou. There is also a Muley faction that is competing with them for resources. At this moment, it is naturally great to have an outside force to help. And in the future, Hai Chongyang will compete for the position of the future head of the family, and Yan Lin and the other party are also a good bargaining chip. And Lin Zixin and Ruan Jinheng are also competing for the resources of the sect. They are all in urgent need of assistance. However, as he said, the Yan family is only strong in one Yan Lingyu, and the help provided is limited. It is impossible to really treat the other party as a thug and bring him around, right? On the contrary, the Kongtong sect's body refining golden elixir can bring a lot to Hai Chongyang. After hearing what Hai Chongyang said, the two people from Kongtong sect also reacted and looked at Yan Lingyu. The handsome man smiled and said, "Let me introduce myself. In fact, I am an alchemy master, and the one next to me is a master of formations." "What? You can also make alchemy? What is your relationship with the princess's mansion?" Yan Lingyu's words are rich in information, which not only shows his talent in alchemy, but also implies that Qin Ran listens to him, so it caused a great response. Hai Lin and Qin Ran, who had been prepared for this, were all shocked. Damn it, a foundation-building cultivator who was less than 25 years old was also a master of alchemy. Who would believe this if they told others? The key point was that the others present did not know this before. Chapter 84 Advantages of All Parties, Initial Cooperation. I don't need to lie to you. My Yan family has 2 alchemy masters, including me. If you count Master Qin Ran, there are 3 masters in total. This bargaining chip should be enough. Yan Lingyu was calm in the face of everyone's surprise. Now he was discussing cooperation with the people in front of him, so he was not worried about revealing some of his cards. He believed that if the conditions he gave were good enough, the others would definitely agree, and they would also help him conceal their identities. Seeing the confidence on the other party's face, Hai Chongyang laughed first. "Good Yan Lingyu, you are really good. Okay, I agree to this cooperation. The assistance of 3 masters, this exchange condition is really huge. The Hai family has alchemy masters, and there are 3 of them. After all, it has been passed down for thousands of years. But the Hai family also has many foundation-building cultivators, more than a dozen, and hundreds of key training people below. These 3 alchemy masters are also controlled by several major factions. Even for Hai Chongyang, it might be easy to obtain high-level elixirs, but it would be difficult to customize some elixirs, so he thought about purchasing elixirs from the Yan family. He also knew the situation of the Yan family. Yan Lingyu had a good talent for alchemy, but he was just a key practitioner. Although he had the level of an alchemy master, he could not even refine some high-level Zhuan-level elixirs. But Yan Lingyu was different. He practiced Taoism and alchemy, and his progress in both aspects was good. Moreover, with his potential, he might become an alchemy master in the future. The Hai family has only produced one alchemy master in thousands of years. That was the most glorious time for the Hai family. At this moment, Hai Chongyang's heart was surging. On the other side, Ruan Lin and the other two also looked solemn. Although they came to fight Yan Lingyu, they were not stupid. When it came to their own interests, they were smarter than anyone else. Sect power is different from family power. The factions in the sect are more chaotic, and the disciples are more selfish. Take Lin Zixin for example. As the first person to practice Qi in Kangtong sect, he has received a lot of support and resources. There are many benefits, but these are for the Qi training period. He is not involved in the real core interests of Kangtong sect, except for the elders of his own lineage. He can provide unlimited support. If the foundation building elders of other lineages really want to take out the treasures for Lin Zixin, no one will do so. There are only so many resources, and they don't have enough for themselves. Who is willing to give them sincerely? Not only that, as physical cultivators, they understand the importance of alchemists better. Physical cultivators need medicinal baths and elixirs to cooperate, so as to improve their physical fitness without hurting their origin. Where do medicinal baths and elixirs come from? Either spend spirit stones to buy them yourself, or wait for the sect's alchemy master to allocate them. One is costly, and the other is time-consuming. This limits the growth of Lin and Ruan. Therefore, compared with a Hai family, they are the ones who need the assistance of the alchemy master more, not to mention Qin Ran. Lin and Ruan fell silent. They did not shout like before, but began to think about their own advantages. In their opinion, if they really established cooperation, the Hai family would become their competitor. And Hai Chongyang also obviously realized this. Yan Lingyu needed time to refine the elixir and practice. Now they were using their interests to exchange for the other party's time. He put away his casual attitude and spoke first. I can provide the information I have, including the trading channels of high-level skills and spiritual tools, as well as the material needs of various forces. It is worth mentioning that many of my sources of information are from the Taiyai sect of the upper sect. Taiyai sect is also a sect located deep in the Shiwan Mountains. It is as famous as Hengshui sect, but it is more ancient and hides many secrets. Ruan Jinhang and Lin Zixin looked at each other, and the former said solemnly, I can give you the method of body refining and provide special guidance by a dedicated person. At the same time, the 100 Beasts Canyon under the jurisdiction of my Kangtong sect can also be entered by you. Most of the 100 Beasts Canyon is located in Jeju, covering an area of 100,000 miles. There are 4th-level monsters and various mysterious spiritual materials in it. This is also the reason why Jeju is small but rich. Kangtong Mountain, where Kangtong sect is located, is at the entrance of the outer periphery of the 100 Beasts Canyon. If you want to enter the canyon, you have to pass in front of it. As the overlord of Jeju, Kangtong sect naturally regards this place as its own resource and does not let outsiders enter easily. The words of the two parties surprised Yan Lingyu. His original idea was to rely on the power of the two parties in their respective peripheries to expand the tentacles of the Yan family. Although this seems to be just a cooperation between 3 foundation-building cultivators, each foundation-building cultivator has his own branch behind him. The powerful influence of the foundation-building cultivators will naturally generate a chain of interests, binding some people to it. For example, the faction within the Kangtong sect that supports Lin Zixin, Yan Lingyu's cooperation with Lin Zixin is equivalent to cooperating with this faction. Although it cannot represent the entire Kangtong sect, the influence of this force is also above the Yan family, which can bring great help to the family. Yan Lingyu's first target was the power hidden behind the Xianjiao. But what he didn't expect was that these two people also had great power, and they could actually provide information about Taiyai sect and the order to enter and exit the Canyon of Beasts. They are not like Yan Lingyu, who can be regarded as the second in command in the Yan family. There are more than a dozen family elders or elders above Hai Chongyang and Lin Zixin. Even so, the two can control lucrative interests, which shows that their methods are also extraordinary. When all the chips of the 3 parties are on the table, it is easier to talk about cooperation. After a whole night of wrangling, the contract was finally settled. The Yan family benefited from this as follows. First, They could receive teachings from Kongtong sect's body refining monks, and they could also receive teachings from foundation building monks. In this way, the Yan family members who were not talented in key training also had an additional path to longevity and breakthrough. Second, the Yan family members could enter the outer area of the Canyon of 100 Beasts free of charge and receive care from Kongtong sect, but they had to share 30% of the benefits. In fact, the truly valuable thing about the Canyon of 100 Beasts was that it could provide a training place for low-level monks. Actual combat was the best way to improve strength. The 10,000 mountains were too dangerous, but the Canyon of 100 Beasts was just right. Third, the Hai family could collect information on behalf of the Yan family. For example, Yan Lingyu had always felt that the Zhuangxi water sponge Ju was more than the Zhuan level, so he asked the Hai family to investigate whether there was any follow-up content to this technique. It would be like looking for a needle in a haystack for the Yan family to investigate it themselves. It would probably take hundreds of years, but Hai Chongyang promised that the result would be confirmed in just 3 days. Of course, if there are any follow-up skills, how to obtain them specifically is up to Yan Lingyu to figure out. Fourth, the Hai family is also willing to introduce sales channels to the Yan family, so that the elixirs and formations refined by the Yan family can have more customers. Yan Lingyu naturally cannot earn much spiritual stones by refining elixirs for his allies. The real way to make a fortune is to sell spiritual objects. The above 4 points are the main ones. Other things such as the operation of various chambers of commerce and the support of each family in times of difficulty were discussed in the meeting, and a tripartite agreement was signed. Among them, the Yan family paid a lot. In the future, Yan Lingyu's own time will be occupied, and the time he spends on cultivation will be greatly reduced. But this is acceptable. When Yan Lingyu reaches the middle stage of foundation building, the system's cultivation recovery will end. At that time, with his qualifications of 4 spiritual roots, his cultivation will definitely progress slowly. It is better to spend more time on collecting resources. If there are enough resources, elixirs can be eaten as candy, which can also improve strength. And it is also preparing for the next life. Chapter 85, Recruiting Immortal, Uzai accepts a disciple. 2 days later. After discussing the cooperation, Yan Lingyu asked Hai Chongyang and others to stay at Yan's house for 2 days. But now these people are also the top leaders of their own forces, and they all have important things to do, so after everything is over, they are ready to return. It is worth mentioning that the 3 foundation building cultivators have already fought in the back mountain of Yan's house. But the result does not seem to satisfy most people. Outside the formation gate of Keishuling, Yan Lingyu saw off several friends. After the exchanges in the past few days, he also got to know the newcomer Ruan Jinhen. The other party has a straightforward personality and speaks almost everything. Brother Ruan, Brother Lin, take care. Yan Lingyu clasped his fists and saluted. However, this pair of disciples of Kongtong sect looked ugly at the moment, and one of them had a big bump on his head. Lin Zixin's head was a little bigger. Ruan and Lin also returned the greeting. After Ruan Jinheng retracted his gaze, he grabbed Lin Zixin like an eagle holding a chick, smiled kindly, and then fled with a ladder. The bump on his head was caused by Yan Lingyu during the previous sparring match. In that duel, Ruan Jinheng felt aggrieved because he couldn't touch the other party the whole time. Whether it was the strange green liquid or the weird rune magic, it made him unable to move and passively take the beating. He, a body refining cultivator, was restrained so tightly that he couldn't use his strength. However, in the end, the 2 sides tied because Yan Lingyu claimed that his own magic power was insufficient. But anyone with a discerning eye could see that he was lying. It was at this time that Ruan Jinheng realized that he had been fooled. His good nephew Lin Zixin knew the other party's methods very well and asked him to come forward to spar. Lin Zixin had no good intentions. When he was fighting with Yan Lingyu, his consciousness also noticed that this guy was grinning, but he didn't make Ruan Jinheng angry to death. And the bump on Lin Zixin's head was also caused by his own hands. Uncle Junior, don't take it personally. Fighting with that guy's a good thing. It can help you find your own shortcomings. You found your shortcomings, right? After returning to the sect, I will help you find your shortcomings. No need, no need. I have already found them. Watching the 2 people from Kongtong sect leave, Hai Chongyang also flew into the air. Brother Yan, goodbye. Brother Hai, goodbye. By the way, Brother Yan, you still need to polish your acting skills. Seeing Hai Chongyang staggering away, Yan Lingyu was secretly surprised. Did he deliberately let others notice? After provoking Yan Lingyu away, he can be said to have devoted himself to practice, and he is bound to practice letting others. Yan Lingyu shook his head and went to Xinchen Pavilion, Liu Yuxi's residence. Yan Lingyu told the other party about the cooperation. This is of great help to the family. Lingyu, you did a good job, Liu Yuxi said with bright eyes. Now that the Zhang family has been destroyed, the towns under its command need to be recruited by people, and to expand outward, many clansmen are also needed to participate in person. Although the 7 generations of clansmen have been able to stand on their own, they still seem to be short of manpower. Perhaps some mortal clansmen should be selected to help. This is the purpose of Yan Lingyu's visit to the clan elders. As the power expands, the problem of insufficient manpower begins to become prominent. The lack of clansmen does not mean that there are not enough cultivators, but a lack of talent. To manage a city and a chamber of commerce, the various strategies designed in this process are beyond the support of ordinary people. If the wrong people are appointed, the incident of Yansu in Black Mountain City may repeat the same mistake. There are many mortals with good brains. For example, Yan Yingmi can manage the mortal family in an orderly manner. At that time, these talents can be invited up, and with the assistance of Kigan clansmen, they can solve the urgent problem of insufficient manpower. Liu Yuxi frowned and said. Now that Yingzhou has been pacified, it can be said that the Yan family is the only one in power. The state lord has the pressure of the princess's mansion, and the Bai and Lu families are also sensible. The rear of the Yan family is already safe. Now he's thinking about how to open up other opportunities. Yan Lingyu nodded and added, this is a good idea. After the main family of the Yan family moved to Keishuling, someone will be needed to take care of the old home in Beatty City. These ordinary people are a good choice. There are also spiritual veins under Beatty City, which can increase the possibility of giving birth to qualified children. Then, after a pause, he said, we can also give some power to the Bai and Lu families, and let them manage a few cities. We only collect benefits and let them taste the sweetness. The Lu family has given up power and joined us, and the Bai family seems to have some small thoughts and needs to be knocked down. He talked about the other 2 forces in Yingzhou and how to deal with the relationship between the 2 families. These 2 families turned against each other quickly, especially the Lu family, with which Yan and Lu were originally on good terms. If the Yan family directly eliminated the 2 families for its own interests, its reputation would backfire on itself. It is better to think of a way to make the 2 families more loyal to the Yan family. In this way, with the lessons learned from the past, some small forces will also obediently join the Yan family. After listening to this, Liu Yuxi secretly admired that Yan Lingyu not only had a good cultivation, but also had a clear understanding of the family situation. It was a blessing for the Yan family to have such a person. At the same time, she also secretly decided that she could not let Yan Lingyu give so selflessly, and the family had to grow up to provide support for the latter. Okay, let's do as you said, Liu Yuxi said again. By the way, there is an outsider cultivator named Yan Xin. That kid wants to worship you as a master. After investigation, he has a certain spirit body. What do you think? Yan Xin was the little guy who entered the Xianayan pavilion to see the world and admired Yan Ping and Yan Lingyu. Because he had cultivation and his loyalty to the Yan family was even greater than that of his own clan, he agreed to let him become a guest of the Yan family. Oh? Spirit body? I'm busy recently and can't accept disciples. I'll ask the Liu clan elders to take care of this matter. As for the spirit body, I'll ask Hai Chongyang and make plans, Yan Lingyu said with curiosity. Liu Yuxi is his disciple. If Yan Xin becomes Liu Yuxi's disciple, he will be his disciple's grandson. It would be great if this lineage can continue. Okay, Liu Yuxi said. At the same time, her expression was dazed, as if memories were coming up, and she murmured, do you want to accept me as a disciple? Then, Liu Yuxi came to her senses and took out something and handed it to Yan Lingyu. What is this? Wooden letter bird, didn't you say goodbye to Miss Hainer? It's just right to use it to communicate. The elders are still thoughtful. Yan Lingyu smiled. Not to mention, he really misses Qin Hainer now. After saying goodbye to Liu Yuxi, Yan Lingyu returned to his own house. He took out the wooden letter bird and found that someone had already set a target for him, which was Xiaonan College. Looking at the handwriting on it, it was not Liu Yuxi, but Yan Lingzhang, the rough man. Yan Lingyu was escorting convoys everywhere, and I think he had been to Xiaonan College in Shaoxiao. It's just surprising that this guy is actually rough but meticulous, and thought of this. Yan Lingyu chuckled, probed into consciousness, and then released the woodbird. He slowly watched it fly away and hide in the flock of migratory birds in the sky. Chapter 86. Time passes, family development. Another day passed. Yan Lingyu woke up from meditation, and there was a wooden bird flying in front of him. Qin Hainer's reply had arrived. He seemed to see the other party's delicate face and moving smile when he probed with his mind. The reply said, Qin Hainer's academic performance was smooth, and he was praised by the teacher in the Jinden period, saying that he had a promising future. Here, this girl with a childlike heart wrote many words and asked Yan Lingyu for praise. Then she wrote in her heart that Qin Hainer would also be ready to build a foundation in a month. At the same time, she told her parents about the private marriage. The parents disagreed. Qin's mother was naturally supportive and relieved, which was due to Qin Hainer's good words, and Qin's mother hoped to meet Yan Lingyu as soon as possible to see what kind of person he was and win the heart of her daughter. Qin's father, on the other hand, had a stern face and kept preaching to Qin Hainer that he should focus on cultivation and not get involved in love too early. At this point, Qin Hainer was very sorry and comforted Yan Lingyu, telling the latter not to worry, she could convince her father to agree to the two of them being together. In these beautiful words, Yan Lingyu seemed to feel that Qin Hainer was right in front of him, and the damn sweetness of love filled his heart. He replied, Hainer, don't worry, I will show perfection, let the princess look at me differently, and happily agreed to our marriage. In a blink of an eye, a year and a half passed. During these years, the Yan family has developed and promoted in many ways, and great changes have taken place inside and outside the family. In the Qiushiling family, another person successfully built a foundation. This person is not a member of the Yan family, but the formation master Qin Ran, who is 44 years old this year. At this age, the Dao formation broke through together, which is also considered a genius. Qin Ran's breakthrough was not based on himself, but also assisted by the foundation building pill, and the origin of the foundation building pill was naturally provided by the Yan family. Of course, he paid the spirit stone for this, which was his own strong request, and the price offered by the Yan family was also very low. For the Yan family, Qin Ran's status is slowly developing in the direction of Liuxi, and he is deeply loved by the clan members. Moreover, helping Qin Ran build his foundation is also of great benefit to the family. After breaking through the shackles of cultivation, his development in the art of formation can also go further and further. In addition to Qin Ran, there is another person who must be mentioned, that is Yan Lingyu's third brother Yan Lingyu. Yan Lingyu has married Lu Qinglian of the Lu family, and the relationship between the two families has taken a step forward. And after more than a year of brewing, Lu Qinglian is also pregnant. In a few months, the Yan family will have another new member. The first child of the two cultivators is very likely to have spiritual roots, and Yan Lingyu is immersed in happiness all day long. Of course, Yan Lingyu has not forgotten the work of the family. In addition to refining pills, he often teaches the Yan family members about alchemy. Now the Yan family is not as short of resources as before, and training a few alchemists will make it difficult for the finances to support it. With the support of spirit stones, the Yan family can ask the clan members or vassals who are interested in alchemy to offer tribute and try to develop in this area. To become an alchemist, you don't have to have talent like Lingyu. People with slightly mediocre qualifications can also become alchemists. For example, Yan Jidao, the fifth master of the Yan family, relied on resources to build up his skills. This is not only true for alchemy. With the support of Qin Ran in the art of formation, the Yan family also has several formation masters. In addition, those basic rune formations were also absorbed by Qin Ran, who then wrote down his experience so that the members of the Yan family with a little qualification could learn the heart seal and sword rune. This greatly improved the overall strength of the members. After a year and a half, Qiushiling was also repaired. The alchemy pavilion and library in the back mountain stood tall, and the glory of the formation shone, becoming a scenic spot of the Yan family. The interior space of these buildings is grand, and even if all the members of the family enter together, they will not feel crowded, which is much more convenient than before. The spiritual fields beside Qiushu Peak have also been successfully cultivated and woven. Now the alchemists of the Yan family can cultivate the spiritual plants they need and save some expenses. At the same time, the scale of the mortal village outside Hengshui is getting bigger and bigger, and it can be called a town. This town is named Yanshu Town, and the housing prices there have soared wildly, which can match the housing prices of other big cities in Yingzhou. All the big and small forces in Yingzhou have put their chips on the Yan family, and they all want to develop with the latter. Slowly, Hengshui, located on the west side of Yingzhou, has become the center of Yingzhou. Under such a thriving landscape, the Yan family members know that this prosperity is hard-won, so they are also trying their best to develop and strengthen themselves. Now, the 7 generations of the Yan family, the Ling generation, have officially become the backbone and have been sent out to take charge of the family industry. And the new generation of the family has also sprung up like bamboo shoots after rain. During this period of time, many people with spiritual roots in the Ling and Xin generations have been born, and the Yan family also has successors. After talking about the development of the family, let's talk about the extended power of the Yan family. First, the branch that settled down in Hanzhou, Qingling County. Yan Lingyu took the time to go there. His fourth uncle Yan Yinglian has already established a firm foothold and married 3 wives to start a new generation. Yan Yinglian went with several key training monks of the Yan family and hundreds of mortals. This is also a considerable force in the local area. Next, this branch will take root and sprout, and reclaim land for the Yan family in Qingling County. On the other side, in Xiaonan County, the Xianayan pavilion of the Yan family is finally no longer limited to Yingzhou, a small place, but has successively established branches in Jeju Yazhou, Kinbi City and other places, mainly doing customized elixirs and arranging talismans, as well as undertaking auction business. Foreign trade transactions are the largest source of income for the Yan family. The monthly profits of all Xianayan pavilions, even after deducting the profit sharing to Halen, can reach 3,000 lingxi. If you add other incomes such as spiritual or mining and clan members' tasks, the monthly net income of the Yan family can reach about 4,100 lingxi. 4,000 a month, 48,000 a year. This is a huge number for the Yan family. You know, a few years ago, the Yan family as a whole was even losing money, just living off the mountain every month. Even if they lived frugally, the tens of thousands of spirit stones left by their predecessors would be consumed. The Yan family hasn't lived such a rich life for a long time. And Yan Lingyu's own reputation has gradually risen. The world began to take this talented young man seriously. The best manifestation of this is that the threshold of the Yan family in Hengshui is stepped on by outsiders every day. Why? The matchmaker above. All forces realized that Yan Lingyu is the future rising star of Xiaonan County, and he is born with a handsome appearance. Such a talent is naturally loved by women. Of course, the real owner always smiled at this. After these years of precipitation, Yan Lingyu's cultivation has become more solid, and under the effect of cultivation recovery, he has made steady progress. It won't be long before he can reach the middle stage of foundation building. At the same time, there's news about the Zhuangxi Shumianju that Xianghai Chongyang asked about. Indeed, this technique is not at the Zhuang level, but at the D level, which means that it can be cultivated to the peak of the golden core. However, the D-level technique is a resource that cannot be leaked within the Tai sect. If Yan Lingyu wants to obtain it, she can only rely on luck. Chapter 87, The Trip to Kongtong, The Reward from the County Government. Jeju. Kongtong Mountain, where Kongtong sect is located on the outskirts of the Canyon of 100 Beasts. The terrain is steep and the mountains are undulating. The main peak can reach 1,300 feet, which is much higher than the Chushui peak of the Yan family. Above it is the source of Xiao River. Xiao River is considered the 4th largest river in the southern part of Daqian. It flows into the 10,000 mountains and it is unknown where it will eventually flow into. Xiao River has many tributaries. It flows through almost half of the state capital of Xiaonan County. It is the mother river of Xiaonan County and feeds countless ordinary people. At the same time, its tributaries have also opened up many water trade channels and routes. Yan Lingyu took his clansmen to Kongtong sect this time, and they took the water route. At this moment, on the Maoi peak of Kongtong sect, a sea of dark green and rich liquid bound many rough Kongtong sect disciples in it and kept scraping them. On it was a young man with a jade face, wearing a light blue robe, looking at the scene below indifferently. Yan Lingyu suspected that these people who practiced body cultivation had some masochistic tendencies. A few days ago, He was invited by Lin Zixin to visit Kongtong sect. It just so happened that a group of Yan family members were going to the Canyon of 100 Beasts to temper themselves, so he led the team to escort them. By the way, he wanted to see what Lin Zixin was up to. It is worth mentioning that the latter also successfully built his foundation a year ago, and he personally went to Keishiling to find Yan family Lingyu once, but what happened later may only be known by the two parties involved. Anyway, after Lin Zixin went back, he began to practice in seclusion again, rarely going out, and closed for a year. When he arrived at Kongtong sect, Yan Lingyu realized that after many tempering and lessons, the other party's physical fitness had made a qualitative leap with the help of Hengshui Yinli. In Lin Zixin's view, being washed by such a strange object is much more effective than sitting under the waterfall every day to resist pressure. The faction of Lin Zixin of Kongtong sect has made good progress due to the combination of three parties. In recent years, the situation of recruiting disciples has greatly improved, and the number of disciples in the key training stage has increased significantly. Therefore, the other party invited Yan Lingyu to come and train these fledgling calves. Of course, this is an additional price and is not included in the original cooperation plan. In this matter, Kongtong sect will come up with other satisfactory rewards. Lin Zixin also made a guarantee that as long as Yan Lingyu controls the power of Hengshui Yinli within a certain range, he will not be responsible for any accidents or injuries to Kongtong sect disciples. He also asked him to take a firm move and not be confused by the words of the disciples. Only when the disciples of Kongtong sect who are practicing Qi fainted can he stop. So, there is the current scene. Senior Yan, stop it, I really can't hold on any longer. Senior Yan, don't listen to Uncle Lin, he's deliberately making things difficult for us. Ouch! The dozen or so Kongtong sect members wearing the same Taoist robes below all showed pain on their faces. Under the oppression of the Hengshui Yinli, they had difficulty breathing, their bodies were weak and numb, and they felt like countless cows were constantly bumping into their bodies. However, Yan Lingyu, who was floating above, did not react at all. He had been doing this sparring for 2 days. He found that the Kongtong sect lineage was not straight, from Ruan Jinhang to Lin Zixin, and then to these newcomers, everyone was cunning. Therefore, he only did things according to Lin Zixin's words. Moreover, these Kongtong sect disciples were all good-natured. Although they were ravaged by Yan Lingyu every day and kept saying cruel words, they would take the initiative to greet the latter and express their gratitude when they met him in the sect in their spare time. These temperings did have many benefits for them. Gradually, Yan Lingyu, like the elder of Kongtong sect, also occupied a place in the hearts of some disciples. Seeing that there were still a few people who could speak, Yan Lingyu grabbed with his empty hand, adding a little more strength. As the body cultivators adapt in embryo, he has to increase his mana output a little bit every day to just reach the best state of training. There was another wailing inside the Hengshui Yinli. Suddenly, his eyebrows moved, and a figure floated from a distance. It was Lin Zixin. Seeing the situation below, the big man nodded and shook his head, saying not bad. Brother Yan, I have just started to practice physical skills recently. Can you practice with me? Lin Zixin looked away with satisfaction and looked at Yan Lingyu with a smile. In the Keishiling incident, Lin Zixin also received the Taoist reward from the Princess Mansion, but at that time he was practicing Qi, and it was not easy to practice. So after he established his foundation and was hit by Yan Lingyu one after another, he worked hard to practice 2 mysterious Taoist skills to small success. Moreover, this guy also specially selected a physical skill to resist Hengshui Yinli from the Princess Mansion. Now seeing that he is very excited and confident, he should have achieved something. On the other hand, Yan Lingyu has not grown up. He naturally received a reward from the Princess Mansion. However, for various reasons, he did not go to select it in person, but entrusted Qinran. Qinran knew that he was already a member of the Yan family, so he only picked the best ones if they met the requirements of the former. He was very skillful, like a natural trader, and he had no guilt towards the princess. The middle-grade spiritual weapon was the Mingli sword sheath. Although it was only a sword sheath, it had the effect of nourishing and enhancing the power of the inserted spiritual sword. According to Qinran, this seemed to be only a middle-grade spiritual weapon, but its effect was no less than that of a high-grade spiritual weapon. When Yan Lingyu became a middle-stage foundation-building weapon, he took back the sword from his previous life that was temporarily hidden in Liu Yuxi's house. With a combination of the two, His strength could be raised to another level. And the Taoist technique he got was a physical skill called floating clouds and flowing water. Yan Lingyu originally practiced the 8 steps of water and stars. As he became stronger, this yellow-level footwork had already shown signs of decline, and he urgently needed a new body cultivation method. Finally, Yan Lingyu had a reward that Talon and the other 2 did not have, that is, Lingsha. Qinran said that the princess had a Lingsha source in her hand, which was a spiritual place that would produce evil spirits from time to time, but the evil spirits produced by this source had a fixed attribute, only gold-type Lingsha. But fortunately, Lingsha was a rare item that no one needed, and the Yan family could use it to exchange for the attributes they needed. Coming back to his senses, Yan Lingyu said to the flattering Lin Zixin with a serious look, "Friend Lin, I have been training your disciples for so long, and I am tired, Brother Yan, everything can be discussed." As he spoke, Lin Zixin handed over a gorgeous storage bag. Yan Lingyu naturally took this storage bag with peace of mind. He had been working for the other party for free for many days, and it was time to collect tuition fees. Then, with a sigh of relief, Yan Lin and the others left and headed deep into Kangtong sect. Lin Zixin's new physical skill was indeed something. It was similar to Yan Lingyu's original Zuanshan technique, which could generate a layer of light film to protect the opponent's body, making it impossible for binding attacks to start, and gaining space for counterattacks. However, Yan Lingyu was not an ordinary person, and the power of his Hengshui Yinli was also extraordinary. Lin Zixin was still defeated in surprise. Both sides of this duel had new gains, and the relationship between the 2 sides was further improved. Finally, Lin Zixin wanted to keep Yan Lingyu for a few more days. The latter thought he had nothing to do, so he agreed. Chapter 88. Ren Ming is in a bottleneck and wants to return to his clan. Hengshui sect, a cave with rich spiritual energy in the Xianitan Dao vein. It is simple and the interior space is not large. There is only a table and a blue-gray cushion that is a little square. On the cushion, a middle-aged man is meditating with his eyes closed. His Taoist robe is already wet with sweat, his brows are frowning, and he keeps chanting spells. The spiritual energy around him is running wild, sometimes flowing into his body, and sometimes being rejected. And every time it is rejected, the man's face becomes more impatient. I don't know how long it has been. The middle-aged man's face is dark red, with a hint of anger and unwillingness. Then, the spiritual energy gathered around dissipated and became free again. Yan Renming suddenly opened his eyes, with flames in his eyes, and angrily smashed the spiritual medicine jade bottle beside him with a punch. The sound of the jade bottle breaking, mixed with his low voice, echoed in the small practice room. Failed again. I wasted 100 contribution points in vain. This is Yan Renming's 4th attempt to break through the middle stage of foundation building, but he still can't reach the late stage of foundation building, which makes him somewhat discouraged. He has been stuck at this bottleneck for 10 years. 25 years have passed since Yan Renming entered the middle stage of foundation building. Many of his fellow disciples have begun to surpass him in cultivation. Over the years, Yan Renming has spent countless financial resources and tried every possible way, but there is always an invisible door in front of him, blocking him from the road. This time, I was almost there, just a little bit, maybe a few more pills and I could succeed. Why is this? Why can't I break through? Yan Renming was a little crazy. In the Hengshui sect, the competition is fierce, and if you don't make progress, you will fall behind. Disciples like him, who have stagnated in cultivation, are almost overthrown by the rolling tide and lose the opportunity to compete for benefits. But he was unwilling, because as long as he became the late stage of foundation building, Yan Renming could enter the sect's secret realm and get the opportunity to change his life. However, he was stuck at this last threshold. The spiritual objects in my hand have been used up. If I want to prepare for the next breakthrough, I have to collect them again. Now I have to go to my master to beg. When he thought of his master, Master Heiming, a trace of hostility flashed in Yan Renming's eyes. His master was very kind to him at first. But with the entry of junior brother Yan Renming, Master Heiming became tired of the old and loved the new, and poured almost all his resources into the other person. This led to the junior brother, who was only in the early stage of foundation building, being able to defeat Yan Renming, who was in the middle stage of foundation building. This made the latter extremely unhappy. If he could get such help, he would have soared to the sky long ago, so Yan Renming had some resentment towards his master and junior brother. It's the same with the family. They haven't contributed any resources in the past few years. If they could provide some help, I would have been in the late stage of foundation building. Really, after failing to break through, Yan Renming didn't dare to stay in the Xianitian Dale vein for too long. Although the spiritual energy here is rich, the rent is also very high. And he can't afford it. Yan Renming fled all the way north and even passed through several mountains. He came to the bottom of a steep cliff, where there was a conspicuous cave. The restrictions outside the cave had no effect on it, allowing Yan Renming to come to the door smoothly. He respectfully transmitted his voice to the inside. Master, disciple Yan Renming wants to see you. Master, disciple Yan Renming wants to see you. After he transmitted his voice again, there was a sound inside the cave. What's the matter? The other party's tone was extremely flat, without a trace of emotion, and the neutral voice made people feel uneasy. Disciple failed to break through, but I will succeed next time. I hope Master will sponsor some spiritual objects. Disciple is grateful. With that, Yan Renming knelt down and kowtowed outside the door. After a moment of silence in the cave, it was Juju who spoke again. Renming, you have already repaired the fork in the road. First, cultivate your original mind, and then think about breaking through the realm. Otherwise, no matter how many times you try, you will not succeed. When Master Heiming finished speaking, the formation flowed around the former, and the next moment, Yan Renming was excluded. At this point, the latter's eyes became even gloomier. He recalled everything in recent years. He failed to pursue a Taoist partner twice and lost face. Someone in the sect betrayed him. He was frequently ridiculed by others. Why did it become like this? At this moment, an unknown evil fire rose in Yan Renming's heart, and the spiritual energy around him was turning black. Fortunately, he discovered it in time, calmed his expression, and almost became possessed. But the negative emotions in his heart have never subsided. It's difficult for me to move forward in the sect. It must be the family that restricts me, Yan Renming said. Which of his fellow disciples around him is not from a noble family? His junior brother is even the child of the lord of a county. He has rich resources, is favored by the sect, and is sought after by the disciples. In comparison, he is nothing. They both have the same dual spiritual roots. Slowly, Yan Renming transferred the haze in his heart to the family that could not help him. Junior brother Renming, why are you here? Suddenly, a sharp voice came. Brother Cuisin. The man had a fair complexion and looked younger than 30 years old. He was wearing a gray-yellow Taoist robe and looked decent. He was a fellow disciple of Yan Renming. Although they were not disciples of Master Heiming, they often interacted with each other and had some friendship. The seniority of a sect is ranked according to the level of cultivation. Brother Renming, you look so depressed. Did you encounter something unpleasant? Cuisin stopped and smiled kindly, which made people like him. Yan Renming sighed and told him about his situation with a wry smile, as if he had met a confidant. You failed to break through recently and spent all your money and property. Aren't you worried about your future? Unlike you? You are naturally gifted and have made rapid progress. As he spoke, he was a little envious of him. In fact, Cuisin was now 39 years old, but he was already in the late stage of foundation building. With his talent, he would definitely be promoted to the golden elixir stage. Moreover, Cuisin was not only extremely talented, but also humble and docile. He treated all the disciples in Hengshui sect equally and was very friendly, so he was also close to all his fellow disciples. Oh? Don't you have a family behind you? Can't they support you? Cuisin asked. Brother Cui, don't mention it. My family is too weak. It's better to dig for gold than trust them to produce the best spiritual objects. Yan Renming was helpless. Brother Renming, that's not right. I heard that the Yan family in Xiaonan County has developed well recently. One after another, people have established their foundations, and there are 2 alchemy masters and a formation master. What? Yan Renming was incredulous at first, then surprised, and then angry. He was surprised that the Yan family had grown and had an alchemy master, so they could naturally help him overcome the difficulties. And the anger was because the Yan family didn't tell him about this. After all, Yan Renming was the ancestor of the Yan family and the second oldest in seniority. If the Yan family was as difficult as before, it would be reasonable not to support him. But now that they are in a good position, they have not shown any support to him, as if they have expelled him from the tribe. How could he tolerate this? It must be Liu Yuxi's doing. Yan Renming thought about it, thanked Cuisin, and left in a hurry. He was going to go back to the tribe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89, The Tribe Member's Attitude, Yuzai's Determination. Hengshui sect and Dekian Yingzhou are hundreds of thousands of miles apart. Even if a foundation building cultivator flies at full speed, it will take 2 days and 2 nights. After leaving the sect, Yan Renming fled towards the family without stopping. When he arrived at Beatty City, it was already evening. When he came to the somewhat unfamiliar Yan family mansion, he was about to walk in directly, but was stopped by the guard. Who is coming? This is the ancestral home of the Yan family. No outsiders are allowed to enter. Yan Renming had been away from the family for a long time. Although there were portraits left, these servants of other surnames didn't know him. Huh? Yan Renming snorted coldly, and a strange force left his body, directly knocking the guard several feet away. He didn't care whether the guard lived or died. After all, he was just a family servant, and he was still an ordinary person. He directly released his spiritual consciousness to cover the entire Yan family ancestral home. All the formations resisted, but he was originally a member of the Yan family, so he easily saw the situation inside the old house. Huh? Yan Renming was a little confused and frowned. He found that there were very few cultivators in the entire family house, and there was no one familiar with him. Are they all out? Yan Renming whispered, and grabbed the other guard who was shocked in place with one hand. I am Yan Renming, the ancestor of the Yan family. I want to ask you, where are all the Yan family members? The guard knew that his life was at stake. The other party was also a member of the Yan family, and the information the other party wanted was not critical, and almost everyone knew it. So, while begging for mercy, he explained, the Yan family has moved to Hengshui, and Beatty City is just a mortal branch. Hengshui. Yan Renming frowned even more. He didn't know where this place was. If he continued to ask the guard, the other party's status was low and he couldn't ask clearly. So he decided to enter the ancestral house and find the cultivators inside. On the moment Yan Renming stepped into the gate, the formations around him started up, and a middle-aged man rushed in. Third Master, Yan Yingming, a 6th-generation member of the Yan family, said in surprise. Although he had never met the real owner, his portrait was still hanging in the ancestral hall, so he would recognize Yan Renming. Who are you? Yan Yingming, the 6th generation of the Yan family. Nice to meet you, Third Master. Yan Yingming invited the other party into the house. Yan Renming could no longer suppress his doubts and asked directly. As the two of them asked and answered, they understood the situation. You mean, the Yan family discovered a spiritual vein in Hengshui, and used it as a foundation to build a new clan site? Yan Renming was shocked after listening to the other party's narration. He didn't expect that the Yan family would develop so much that they could even own spiritual veins. Although Hengshui sect also has spiritual veins, and they are better, this is also a limited resource. Ordinary disciples can only build caves on the branches of spiritual veins. If they want to go to a place with more abundant spiritual energy, they can only pay merit points. Especially the spiritual eye of the spiritual vein. This resource is almost controlled by the top leaders of the sect. The anger that Yan Renming had just suppressed rose again. The Yan family concealed its deeply. If he knew that the Yan family had a spiritual vein, he would have chosen to come back to break through the late stage of foundation building. How could he fail? His face became gloomy, and he continued to ask questions. With a wave of his sleeves, he turned and left, heading towards Hengshui. Looking at his back, Yan Yingming's heart sank. He originally thought that this foundation-building ancestor came back to help the family. But judging from the other party's impatient attitude, let alone help, it would be a good thing if he didn't come to harm the family. In fact, only the Ji generation in the Yan family had some impression of Yan Renming. The Ying and Ling generations had hardly seen this person, and they were still brooding over what happened in Hengshui, and they didn't like this so-called ancestor. Yan Yingming had a bad premonition, so he hurriedly called out the messenger bird to inform the family of what happened. Hengshui Yan family. Xinshan Pavilion. Yan Yingzhou, the current head of the Yan family, entered the house with a solemn expression and found Liu Yuxi who was practicing. He said, Elder, the third master is coming back. Liu Yuxi listened to his words and said seriously, he still knows to come back? Is he clear about what he is coming back for? If he wants to help the development of the Yan family, then of course he is welcome. 7 years ago, before going to the Zhang family, Liu Yuxi invited Yan Renming to return to the family, but the other party refused. This also led to the ambush of the Yan family later. If it weren't for Liu Yuxi's strength and Yan Renzhong's 3 people who risked their lives, the Yan family would have been destroyed long ago. Since then, in Liu Yuxi's heart, Yan Renming is no longer a member of the Yan family. And in the past few years of development, she has also abandoned him from the affairs of the Yan family. I heard from Yingming that this third master is not here to help the family, but may have something else to ask for. How ridiculous. When the family was in danger, he refused in every possible way. Now that the family has just improved, he remembers his surname Yan. Liu Yuxi slammed the table in anger. At this moment, she knew what Yan Renming was thinking, and continued, let him work for the Yan family for 10 years first. When Yan Renming entered Keishuling, he was surprised again. He didn't expect the Yan family to develop so well. Those dazzling formations were of high grade at first glance. He knew that there was a formation master in the foundation building period in the Yan family, and such a person would be of great help to him. He came to the main hall. At this time, although it was late at night, the hall was brightly lit and the clan members gathered. Yan Renming naturally walked in. On the other side, Yan Lingyu, who was standing in the crowd, looked at this strange man and felt angry. His most beloved grandfather, Yan Jilian, died in the Yan Zhang battle. He knew that if the third master was there at that time, with his cultivation in the middle stage of foundation building, and with the elder Liu who was also in the middle stage of foundation building, the Zhang family would not dare to attack. In Yan Lingyu's view, including his grandfather, 5th Master Yan Renzhong, 3rd Master Yan Jikun, were all indirectly killed by Yan Renming. Many 6th and 7th generation clansmen had the same inner thoughts as Yan Lingyu, and had no respect for Yan Renming. Aunt Liu, Yan Renming greeted the old woman in front of him with a stiff smile. What's the matter with you returning to the clan today? The latter replied coldly. The eyes of the surrounding clansmen also fell on Yan Renming. Before coming to Keishuling, he also learned about the major events of the Yan family in recent years, including the deaths of several elders. Therefore, Yan Renming said with a little regret, I feel guilty about the death of Renzhong and others, so I want to return to the clan and help the family develop. I am almost able to break through the late stage of foundation building. As long as I become a late-stage cultivator, the status of our Yan family can be raised to a higher level. The other party's words made Liu Yuxi's eyes even colder. It turned out that this guy was stuck at a bottleneck and only thought of the family. However, a late-stage cultivator of foundation building is indeed a great help to the Yan family. So Liu Yuxi said, the resources in the clan are not unlimited. It is also difficult to supply such a large family. Moreover, the merit hall has been built now, and all resource exchanges are based on merit points. If you want to obtain resources, you should work for the family first. This made Yan Renming's face change. He needs a lot of materials to break through. If he really relies on accumulating merits to exchange, it will take a long time. Even if he breaks through by then, the gap between him and his fellow disciples in Hengshui sect will become wider and wider. Can he tolerate this? Aunt Liu, how about this? I'll advance some resources, and after you make a breakthrough, I'll guarantee to serve the family. No, the family rules will not be changed by anyone. If you don't accept it, go back to your Hengshui sect. Liu Yuxi's attitude was extremely firm. Chapter 90, Yuzai is defeated and Lingyu is summoned back. In the main hall of the Yan family. Facing Liu Yuxi's toughness, Yan Renming's face changed and gradually became gloomy. He whispered, why are you making things difficult for me? You and I are both members of the Yan family. Isn't it right for us to help each other? Yan Renming's words seemed to arouse the woman's anger, and the latter scolded, how dare you talk about helping each other? After entering the Hengshui sect for decades, have you done anything for the Yan family? The family spent spirit stones to support you, but when the family needed you, you refused in every possible way. How can you, a person who betrays the sect and the family, and betrays the faith, have the face to say such words? Go, since you have no intention of repenting, leave the Yan family. Liu Yuxi suppressed her anger and ordered the other party to leave. She wanted to teach him a lesson, but this was after all in the Yan family. If she really started fighting, it would destroy the Yan family's property and hurt the Yan family's people. Boom. However, unlike Liu Yuxi, Yan Renming couldn't help the violent ki around him. He said hysterically, I didn't contribute to the Yan family? The Yan family's development today is all due to my reputation. Other forces are afraid of my identity as a disciple of Hengshui sect, so they dare not attack the Yan family and follow the development of the Yan family. Without the deterrence of my identity as a foundation-building cultivator, the Yan family would have perished long ago. I have made the greatest contribution to the Yan family's success today. So I should draw on the family resources, which is also right. Yan Renming's eyes turned red, and the aura around him made all the Yan family members breathless. You fart. The air almost froze, but in such an atmosphere, a rough roar sounded. The tall Yan Lingyu pointed at Yan Renming and shouted angrily, "The Yan family can grow and develop today because of the efforts of the Yan family members, the blood of the elders in the family, and the concerted efforts of the family members. It is not the credit of one person, let alone yours." The young and energetic Yan Lingyu didn't care who Yan Renming was. He was angry at his words. He had never seen such a shameless person. Bang! Puff! Lingyu, fourth brother, Yan Renming's face was extremely depressed. He ignored the instigation of the younger generation and took action directly. "I am the ancestor of the Yan family. I am the oldest here. How dare you talk to me like this?" Such an act of disrespecting the elders should be punished. Yan Lingyu flew out from the crowd, and his life or death was unknown. Everyone in the family was sad and shocked. As a member of the Yan family, Yan Renming could be so heavy-handed to his younger generation? The other party even imposed the name of disrespect on Yan Lingyu. Yan Renming, Liu Yuxi jumped up. Her magic power was strong, and the green light was shining. She waved her hand, pointed at the distance, and slashed at the other party with a sword. At the same time, she said to the head of the family, "Yan Yingzhao, Yan Renming is no longer a member of the Yan family. From now on, he has no relationship with the Yan family. How can the Yan family have the final say with you, a person of an outsider?" Yan Renming was also furious at this moment. I saw that his left hand turned outward, and in an instant, the spiritual energy flowed and gathered in his hand, quickly forming a big seal. The big seal was sacrificed, just like a blue dragon roaring between heaven and earth, with awe-inspiring majesty. Zhuan level top-grade Taoist art, the Great Dragon God Seal. Yan Renming spent most of his time comprehending this Taoist art, and he had reached the highest level. For a time, the key training clan members of the Yan family could not bear the pressure and were close to defeat. And the real target of the offensive, Liu Yuxi, was under even greater pressure. Only the 3 lotus blue sky sword and the 7 colored glazed beads, these 2 spiritual weapons, can be slightly countered. After one move, Liu Yuxi knew that she was no match. No matter what, the other party was a disciple of the Hengshui sect. The skills and Taoist techniques he practiced were not comparable to those of a small-scale foundation-building cultivator like Liu Yuxi. She knew that the other party was like a madman, not recognizing his relatives, and only caring about himself. He must be killed as soon as possible. Liu Yuxi poured her magic power into the 2 spiritual weapons, wanting to drive the other party out of the Yan family mansion and protect the clan members with low cultivation. On the other side, Yan Renming was unreasonable and followed him out directly. Now, although he was a little crazy, he knew that it would not be good for him to hurt the Yan family members and injure those alchemists and formation masters. His goal was to control the Yan family. In his opinion, Yan Renzhong and Yan Ren were both dead now. As long as he killed this outsider, he would have the final say in the Yan family. "The Yan family should be controlled by me," Yan Renming shouted at Liu Yuxi and sent out the spiritual weapon Jingxi Uzhuai knife, which had the power to break a mountain. Coupled with the cooperation of several high-level Taoist arts, Liu Yuxi was a little overwhelmed. "Activate the clan protection formation and kill the Yan family's external enemies together," someone in the clan shouted. But the next moment, he was knocked unconscious by Yan Renming. At first, when Yan Renming came back, the Yan family would never have thought that the other party would directly attack the clan members, and activating the formation consumes a huge amount of spiritual stones, and it is not something that can be activated at will. Now that the other party has been let in, it will be a little difficult to activate it again. Qinran is not in Qiashiling now. Although the Yan family has a formation plate that can control the clan's formation, Yan Renming is vicious and powerful. In the battle of the same level, he can also distract himself to attack those who want to activate the formation plate. The distance is too close, and the high-level officials want to instigate the formation plate, but it is too late. In the sky, Liu Yuxi is getting worse and worse. Although the two are both in the middle stage of foundation building, the gap in strength between the two sides is too large. In the end, he was defeated by Yan Renming and was captured. Uncle San, how can you do this? We are all family. As Yan Renming fell back to the ground, Yan Jikan, a member of the 5th generation, stepped forward and said, "The 5th generation of the Yan family is different from the 6th and 7th generations. They have all seen the brief glory of the Yan family's dual foundation building era after Yan Ping's death. They were still young at that time, so they all admired Yan Renming. So much so that even now, they don't hate the latter very much. Some people in the 5th generation of the Yan family don't want Yan Renming to have conflicts with the Yan family, and hope that he can continue to help the family." Yan Renming glanced at Yan Jikan, and then said coldly, "Now the Yan family is in charge of me, go and get the family treasury bill, and send a message to Yan Lingyu." And Qin ran back. He already knew the situation of the 7th generation disciples, especially Yan Lingyu, who is the most outstanding among them. Yan Renming became very interested in the latter, who practiced both Dao and Dan. This junior helped him a lot. He needed Yan Lingyu's support. Yan Renming glanced at everyone. The rest of the Yan family didn't dare to look him in the eye and could only hide their anger in their hearts. Because the elder of the Liu clan was in the hands of the other party, who knew what evil things this damned bastard would do. Linking, go and tell Lingyu a message. Linglin, go and see how Ling Xiang's injuries are. At this moment, the only one who could stand up was the head of the family, Yan Yingzhao. His eyes were like torches, and he clearly instructed the clan members on the next steps. Yan Yingzhao didn't think that Yan Lingyu could make a comeback after returning. After all, the latter was only in the early stage of foundation building. He couldn't even beat the elders of the clan who were in the middle stage of foundation building, let alone him. He could only hope that this big Buddha would return to his Hengshui sect after eating and drinking enough. Chapter 91, Yan Lingyu's Strength, the Wei Tribe Takes Direct Action. Kongtong Sect. A wooden bird finally came here after crossing thousands of mountains and rivers, and landed steadily on a slender hand. Linking? Did something happen in the clan? Yan Lingyu frowned slightly, with a bad premonition. He probed with his spiritual sense and read it roughly. The other party had described everything that happened in the Yan family, including Liu Yuxi's serious injury. The next moment, the spiritual energy around him was cold and his eyes were deep. What a Yan Renming! Yan Lingyu rarely got angry, but when the family encountered such a situation, he couldn't hold back his emotions. "Senior Yan, quick, let go, I can't stand it, I'm dying." Yan Lingyu's anger didn't matter, but the Kongtong sect members who were being trained suffered. They were suppressed by the suddenly powerful Hengshui Yinlei, and they were breathless and wailed. The former stopped in time, otherwise he almost crippled everyone below. At this moment, he was not in the mood to continue training others. He had to rush back to the clan to solve the problem. But before that, Yan Lingyu had one thing to confirm first. After saying sorry to the Kongtong sect members, he went to Ruan Jinheng's cave. "Brother Ruan, let's meet if you have anything to say," Yan Lingyu said from outside the restriction. Soon, the tall Ruan Jinheng came out. When he saw the former's appearance, he was shocked at first, wondering who had provoked this plague god. Ruan Jinheng and Yan Lingyu have been together for a year and a half, and he has never seen the other party's expression so cold. Even he, standing next to the other party, would have his hair stand on end and temporarily avoid the edge, fearing that the guy in front of him would slap him to death with a palm. "Brother Yan, what's the matter?" he asked tentatively, thinking that he had done something that made the other party unhappy. However, Yan Lingyu's words surprised him. "Brother Ruan, your Kongtong sect is large in scale, and you should have had exchanges with the Hengshui sect. Do you know the level of the disciples there?" Ruan Jinheng was not a careless person. In fact, he was meticulous. From the other party's words, he could conclude that Yan Lingyu might have made enemies with the disciples of the Hengshui sect. He explained, "The foundation of the several ancient sects is naturally far beyond the reach of our small sects. But the main gap between the two sides is still in the high-level cultivators. The gap between the low-level cultivators who are practicing Qi and building the foundation is not very obvious. Because of the Daqian dynasty, many low-level skills, Taoist arts and spiritual tools are circulated. Therefore, if some small sects have outstanding talents, they may not be inferior to the peripheral disciples of the big sects. Of course, we can't compare with those core disciples." Yan Lingyu nodded slightly after listening. He was isolated from information and didn't know the strength of his opponent. He only knew that Yan Renming was stronger than the Liu clan elder. If he went back rashly, it would be of no benefit to the family. He had to first understand Yan Renming's general strength. Then, Yan Lingyu's momentum changed and asked, "What do you think of my strength? Can it be compared with the outer disciples of the big sect? Although Brother Yan is very strong, but Ruan Jinheng felt an endless pressure coming from the former, almost crushing him. He was surprised. Aren't they both in the early stage of foundation building? How can this guy in front of me kill me in seconds just by showing off his momentum? Ruan Jinheng, am a Kangtong sect genius anyway, it's really embarrassing." Ruan Jinheng has always known that Yan Lingyu has preserved his strength, but he didn't expect that the other party hit it so deeply. Is this the early stage of foundation building? There is such a strong mana in the early stage of foundation building? Could this guy be a disguised late stage of foundation building? Ruan Jinheng was shocked beyond words. He said with sweat on his forehead, "Brother Yan, you are too amazing. There are disciples in the upper sect who have jumped from the early stage of foundation building to the late stage of foundation building. I think you are about the same. Ordinary cultivators in the middle stage of foundation building are not your opponents. At least this is the case with several elders in my Kangtong sect. I understand, thank you." Yan Lingyu made up his mind and turned to leave. "Brother Yan, please help. After all, our two families are allies, no need," the former replied indifferently. "This is a scandal of the Yan family, and it is not easy for others to intervene. Besides, Yan Lingyu wants to eliminate this scourge himself. He doesn't understand why Yan Renming has become like this. It seems that he sent him to Hengshui sect too early. In such a competitive environment, people with unsteady Taoism are very likely to get lost and be affected. Of course, the biggest problem for Yan Renming to become so selfish is not only the environment, but also himself. The Hai family also has clansmen in Tai sect. The other party can selflessly convey information to the family, but Yan Renming can't. Not to mention the transmission, it is extremely difficult to contact him personally." Yan Lingyu's eyes flashed with cold light. This boy must be severely punished. If he continues like this, the atmosphere in the family will change. By then, everyone will be like him, only caring about their own interests and using the family as a tool for profit. Sooner or later, the Yan family will be finished. Kishiling. A beam of light fell, and Yan Lingyu showed up. He walked towards the main hall of the Yan family. Many clansmen were also seen among them. Because of Yan Renming's matter, many clansmen were specially called back, such as Yan Jidao and others. When everyone saw Yan Lingyu coming back, their expressions were different, some were sad, and some were stubborn. The clansmen were obviously divided into two factions. This made Yan Lingyu shocked and angry. The younger generation was fine. The other party Yan Renming was dissatisfied, but the older generation of clansmen accepted and understood him. Perhaps the two sides had experienced different periods, so there was a disagreement. Yan Lingyu secretly said that he had neglected the family inheritance education in his previous life. This caused a gap in the concepts of each generation of clansmen. This is not good. It needs to be corrected urgently. "Lingyu, your third master wants to see you, right here at Zhengzhen Pavilion." The one who came forward was the head of the family, Yan Yingzhao. He looked serious, and then transmitted his voice, "I know you are angry, but don't be impulsive. You are no match for him, and the elderly who doesn't want to see you get hurt." Yan Lingyu didn't answer. Nor did he look at Yan Yingzhao. He just looked far away at Zhengzhen Pavilion, nodded vaguely, and walked towards his destination. The true energy in his body kept flowing, like a huge furnace burning violently. Seeing this situation, the head of the family was worried, and he dispersed the Yan family members who were watching the excitement and followed the pace of the former. Tap, 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 Yan Lingyu stepped on the stone road, step by step forward. At this moment, Yan Renming also received the news and went out to greet him. However, seeing the momentum of the person who came, the smile on his face froze, and he showed his impatience again. "Everyone is like this. Do you hate me so much? I am your ancestor." As soon as he finished speaking, Yan Lingyu's attack came in front of him. The yin thunder of Hengshui surged towards Yan Renming like a huge wave that covered the sky. Even though he was in the middle stage of foundation building, he still felt full of oppression. The spiritual weapon sword appeared in his hand and slashed towards the sky. At the same time, he slapped his palm through the air. His sword light did not cut through the overwhelming torrent, and his palm technique was also blocked. Yin Thunder of Hengshui? There is also the Water Heart Seal, but why is his Heart Seal so powerful? After moving into the Yan family, Yan Renming naturally also got the Heart Seal and the Xiao Magic Sword Talisman, but he was surprised by Yan Lingyu's performance. He felt something was wrong in his heart. This junior is not right. Chapter 92 Bloodline Suppression, Killing on the Spot. Impossible. In the void, Yan Renming and Yan Lingyu fought for a while, and the first to be repelled was the former with a higher cultivation level. Yan Renming was shocked. He did not expect that this young junior was so powerful. The several inherited Taoist seals from this Renming sect were extremely powerful in Yan Lingyu's hands, far exceeding those of the same level. This was not a tricky thing. The spiritual weapon umbrella in the opponent's hand, which transformed into a picture of mountains and rivers, had a suppressive effect. Although it was only a low-grade spiritual weapon, it could be combined with the high-level Taoist arts Renshu Yinli and the Jiangxi Oshu. This made Yan Renming's offensive vanish and become passive. What frightened him even more was that in this dark green torrent, there were several deadly auras hidden, locking him, making him feel like a thorn in his back, and he dared not relax at all. How could he be so strong? Yan Renming shouted in disbelief. Indeed, he fell into disadvantage because he underestimated the enemy at the beginning. Yan Lingyu was different from other tribesmen, and his identity was extremely special. A genius of the Yan family, he has built his foundation before the age of 25. He is a master of alchemy and is expected to become a master of alchemy. He has deep friendships and is the core link between Yan, Hai and Kongtuang. More importantly, he is the designated fiancé of the only daughter of the princess of Xiaonan County. These vests shocked Yan Renming, who had just returned from Hengshui sect, and he had to pay attention to him. Therefore, when he first fought, he stopped and did not want to hurt the other party. Yan Lingyu was injured, so the alchemy had to be postponed, which harmed his own interests. However, Yan Renming never thought that he could not beat this junior. The opponent's early foundation building cultivation was too confusing, and he went all out as soon as he came up, laying out all kinds of Taoist techniques. Yan Renming was caught off guard and was beaten into passive position. It was not easy for him to turn over and take the initiative in a short period of time. But he is worthy of being a disciple of Hengshui sect. Even in a disadvantageous situation, he could handle it. Various Taoist techniques emerged one after another, linked together, and coordinated in different ways, so as not to be defeated. Moreover, Yan Renming was well versed in defense. A spiritual weapon, the golden silkworm soft armor, almost blocked all the missed attacks. The situation between the two sides was changing. He looked at Yan Lingyu with a cold look, and at the same time, his anger was rising. He was ready to fight with the other party. It is true that Yan Lingyu's Zhuangxi Shumianju can make his mana and true energy particularly mellow. But Yan Renming himself has also cultivated the Hengshui sect's unique skills, so he is not bad. Moreover, he is still in the middle stage of foundation building, and has been practicing for nearly 100 years. It is impossible for him to be lower than the other party in terms of total mana. So, the two sides were deadlocked. Time passed little by little, and Yan Renming's face became more and more gloomy. Why does this kid still have true energy to output? He was very puzzled. After a full-strength confrontation for an incense stick, Yan Renming was the first to show his cowardice. The situation of the battle changed rapidly, and the advantage began to fall to Yan Lingyu's side again. This made him even more impatient, and he thought of his junior brother. It was understandable that his junior brother Duan Feng could defeat him with his early foundation building cultivation. After all, Duan Feng had the full support of the sect and was extremely talented. But how could Yan Lingyu challenge him? Yan Lingyu was just a cultivator from the small Yan family. He had no master with profound cultivation to guide him, nor did he have the support of various resources from the sect. He had only practiced for a short time. Why did he have such strength? Yan Renming's face was so gloomy that it was dripping with blood. He felt that he was being insulted by his juniors. In an instant, Yan Renming's momentum suddenly increased, suppressing the Renshu Yinlei. Rebellious son, I am your ancestor, dare to disrespect your elders and attack me. This is treason, I will punish you. Yan Renming's eyes turned red and he shouted angrily. However, what greeted him was Yan Lingyu's sneer. Yan Renming, you still don't know your fault. The vast divine sound echoed in the world. Yan Lingyu stood on the air, one hand behind his back, the other hand making hand gestures. All he had was calmness and disdain. His eyebrows opened, countless brilliant lights were released, and in his pupils, time flowed, right and wrong, and the vicissitudes of life. One glance, it was 10,000 years. Yan Renming, who had activated the forbidden technique and doubled his momentum, just looked at each other, and his momentum stagnated. Yan Renming had an illusion that he seemed to have returned to his childhood. At that time, Yan Ping, the ancestor of the Yan family, was still there, and he was still an ignorant child. He seemed to be facing the anger of the ancestor, and dared not speak softly or move around. Old man, looking at the figure in front of him, Yan Renming had hallucinations and murmured. He felt a kind of suppression from the dark, pushing against his body. The blood in his body began to flow backwards, and his thighs began to tremble. For a moment, Yan Renming actually had the urge to kneel down. Swoosh, while Yan Renming was distracted, a dark attack, under the cover of the water flow, had already reached his chest. This is the hidden flow spirit finger that has been blessed. Yan Lingyu's assassination technique is much more ruthless than the refining nether yellow spring nail that Hai Chonggang used. Although it is not a soul attack, its strength and concealment are better than the former. Lin Zixin, who has practiced hard, did not dare to block it. Zhang Zhangyi could not even complete the self-destruction and died under the finger technique. It can be seen that the power of the hidden flow spirit finger, strengthened by Yan Lingyu, is very powerful. For a moment, Yan Renming's soul was waking up from his sluggish state. A strong sense of crisis swept through his body. He wanted to defend, but he lost the initiative and it was difficult for him to make adequate preparations. The protective golden silkworm soft armor could not withstand the violent collision and was broken by the fingerprint. With one finger, Yan Renming was seriously injured and was shattered in the void. It can be seen that Yan Lingyu in this situation did not look happy, but more solemn. At this moment, Yan Renming's eyes were unfocused, and he was filled with anger, reluctance, shame, and despair. A trace of black air was actually coming out of his body and lingering around his chest. The former shouted, "The whole clan, disperse, stay away from here, Yan Renming is possessed by a demon." Then, Yan Lingyu's eyes flashed with murderous intent. He had not expected things to turn out this way. He had not yet thought about how to deal with Yan Renming. After all, he was not only a member of the Yan family, but also a member of the Hengshui clan. Killing him at will would bring endless hidden dangers. Therefore, Yan Lingyu's initial idea was to severely punish him and confine him to the clan to atone for his sins. Now it is no longer necessary. Those who are possessed by a demon should be killed. Oh, they all deserve to die, the crazy Yan Renming kept roaring, and the black air around him was violent. His dark red eyes stared at Yan Lingyu, and he rushed towards the ladder regardless of anything. Die? The possessed and crazy Yan Renming's magic power increased greatly, but he lost his reason, and his strength decreased a lot. But he was not easy to deal with. Yan Lingyu's several spells could not threaten him, and the family formation array was in the other party's hands. For a moment, Yan Lingyu could only restrain the other party awkwardly, preventing Yan Renming from endangering other clansmen and leading him outside Jushuling. Suddenly, Yan Lingyu's heart moved. With the help of others, Liu Yuxi had been rescued. "Elder, lend me the Kingming sword." In an instant, lotus flowers grew. The sword shadow came to Yan Lingyu's hand. Feeling the familiar texture and the faint joy coming from the sword body, Yan Lingyu put on a smile. Hands up, swords down. Yan Renming was killed. Chapter 93 Speculation, Influence. Right above Keshu Peak, green lotuses were overflowing, spiritual energy was everywhere, and water was surging. A green light flashed by, and Yan Renming's violent breath stopped abruptly. A clear blood mark was left on his neck. Then, he fell from the sky like a deflated ball. As Yan Renming's body fell, the eyes of the Yan family members also moved, and at the same time, their faces were all incredibly shocked. This duel ended too quickly. Yan Renming had just started to gain momentum and was still showing off his power, but suddenly he was severely injured by Yan Lingyu. When everyone thought the latter was going to win, the situation reversed again, and Yan Renming was possessed by a demon. Just when they were sweating for Yan Lingyu, they saw a sword that could kill or bring death. For a moment, all the clansmen were stunned. Among them was Liu Yuxi. Her eyes flickered, and she did not look at Yan Renming's body, but stared at the young man above and the spiritual sword in the other's hand. She even forgot the pain caused by her injuries. The man and the sword in Liu Yuxi's eyes gradually overlapped with her past memories. Her master Yan Ping was also like this. At that time, when the three lotus blue sky sword flew out, the joy on it was so obvious, as if the sword and Yan Lingyu were close friends. And Yan Lingyu's sword skills were too similar to her master Yan Ping. Every move seemed to be carved out of the same mold. This scene made Liu Yuxi start to think of the bits and pieces of contact with Yan Lingyu. It was also at this time that she realized that the other party's words and deeds, the other party's calmness, coldness, and lightness, were another ancestor Yan Ping. Unconsciously, Liu Yuxi had an idea in her mind that shocked even herself. Could Yan Lingyu be Yan Ping? There are many strange things in the world, and the way is unpredictable. Maybe the ancestor Yan had obtained some holy objects that could allow him to reincarnate. Based on Liu Yuxi's understanding of Yan Ping, if the latter could really reincarnate, he would behave like Yan Lingyu, silently bearing everything and realizing himself as the leader of the family's development. She was thinking a lot, and her body was trembling slightly. She decided to test this idea in her heart. The other clansmen didn't know much about the ancestor Yan Ping, or in other words, none of the other clansmen present were born when Yan Ping was alive. They naturally couldn't see any clues, but were shocked by Yan Lingyu's strength. There were also some fifth-generation clansmen who felt sorry for Yan Renming. If the latter hadn't been possessed by the devil, although he had previously committed a crime against the family, he could make up for it. As long as Yan Renming stayed in the Yan family for a few years, the environment of the Yan family would be able to cultivate him into a loyal family member. Of course, this idea only appeared in the minds of a small number of people. The vast majority of the Yan family members were very relieved about Yan Renming's death. Ninth brother. Well done. Yan Lingzhang was supported by several tribesmen, shouting at the top of his voice. He suffered a lot from a blow from Yan Renming a few days ago. In the sky, Yan Lingyu turned into a beam of light and grabbed the falling body. The Sanlian Kingming sword in his hand had also been sheathed, the middle-grade spiritual weapon Mingli sword sheath, and began to nurture his old friend. In his previous life, Yan Lingyu naturally could not have practiced only one Jiang Xiao technique. In addition to this one, he also learned two others. One of them was brought by the cultivation method in his previous life, which will not be discussed here for the time being. The other one is a sword technique called Kinglian Dang Jianju, which he obtained together with the Sanlian Kingming sword in a secret realm. This killing move was used to kill Yan Renming just now. After coming to his senses, Yan Lingyu came to Yan Renming's body, collected the supplies on his body, and began to explore. Suddenly, he frowned, and felt that Yan Renming's possession was not as simple as it seemed. The flesh and blood of the other party's body had completely turned black, which was a sign of being possessed for a long time. From this point of view, Yan Renming was not right when he was in Hengshui sect, but Hengshui sect is a major sect today. How could a disciple be possessed by a demon without noticing? Could it be some form of demonization that Yan Lingyu didn't know about? He decided to go back and ask Hai Chonggang, the know-it-all. But one thing is certain, the cultivator who can be invaded by the inner demon has problems with his own character. Yan Renming's death was not unjust. Put away the corpse for future investigation. Yan Lingyu half floated in the void, looking down at the sentient beings below. He saw the changes in the previous clansmen, and after today's incident, he hoped that the Yan family would change. In the previous life, the Yan family had just risen, and many affairs were not perfect, and Yan Ping himself was running around and didn't discipline his family very well. Therefore, there would be a clansman like Yan Renming. This kind of thing can only happen once. Yan Lingyu glanced at Liu Yuxi from a distance, signaled to the latter, and said to all the clansmen, "Quickly recall all the Yan family members outside, and hold the family ancestral meeting tomorrow." Yan Lingyu's eyes were bright. Because of the appearance of Yan Renming, there were already differences within the family, and it became chaotic. He decided to use today's incident to reform the family rules and correct the family style again. There is no wall that is impenetrable in the world. In the Yan family, there are not only Yan clan members, but also other worshippers, as well as guests from the Yingzhaobai family, the Lu family, the Yazhaohai family, and the Kongtong sect. Therefore, what happened today quickly spread within a small range. Outrageous! What did Yan Lingyu eat to grow up? In the Hai family palace, Hai Chonggang looked at the direction of Ke Shuling and said with a twitch at the corner of his mouth, killing a cultivator in the middle stage of foundation building with a cultivation of the early stage of foundation building, and the opponent is from a large sect, and even possessed by demons. This kind of strength has exceeded Hai Chongyang by a lot. He didn't have much opinion on Yan Renming's death. With Yan Lingyu and Qin Ran in the Yan family, it was nothing to lose a foundation building person. Moreover, this Hengshui sect member was killed after he was possessed by a demon, so Hengshui sect couldn't say much, and even had to compensate the Yan family. Yan Renming was possessed by a demon 3 days after returning to the clan. Such a short time showed that there were signs, and the Hengshui sect had more problems. Hai Chongyang exhaled deeply, his heart was full of reluctance, he didn't want to be left behind by Yan Lingyu. He sent a voice transmission, "Master, I want to enter the yellow spring of 100 ghosts." Hengshui sect, the tall and straight Master Heming, woke up from meditation. He pursed his lips and his eyes were wide open. He sensed the death of Yan Renming. Although this disciple was dispensable, he was still his disciple and a member of the Hengshui sect who could kill him. Cast a spell. Soon, a beautiful figure entered the cave. Duanfeng greets Master. "Duanfeng, your third senior brother is dead. Now you are the only one in the sect among you brothers. You should investigate the cause of this matter. Be careful and don't show off. The other party can kill Yan Renming, and maybe they can threaten you as well." "Yes, Master." Duanfeng's eyes shook, he was a little confused, but he still retreated. Chapter 94 Release Notice. Today, the editor notified me that the book will be published on Friday. I just realized that I have already written 200,000 words without realizing it. Looking back, the past is the past. I don't like to be stuck in the publication, so I wrote the following chapters in a hurry, and added another chapter to get through the plot quickly. Otherwise, I should have processed the details of the fight more, and the Bragan duo would have played enough roles, at least 2 chapters. I am a new author who failed to write. Looking back, I also found that there are many places where my writing did not achieve the expected effect, such as the 240-chapter dungeons connected in the middle. Now I think it's stupid. Many readers left during that period. In addition to the unsatisfactory ones, there are also plots that I personally like, such as the sacrifice of the family elder, the kick of the young princess, and the killing of Yan Renming just now. Anyway, I was so excited and my thoughts were extremely smooth. Speaking of Yan Renming, when I designed this character in the first chapter, his ending was already doomed. Some people died in the first chapter, but they were buried in the 90th chapter. I have said too much nonsense. I opened a separate chapter to notify the publication, naturally to attract subscriptions. I won't play the victim, I just hope that readers can trust me, and trust me, I will write better and better. I am also constantly learning and correcting in my creation, and I also think that I can make further progress in both my writing style and plot design in the future. Next is the betting part. In view of my failure, I will add 1 chapter for every 100 first orders, the update is not fixed. After that, if the average order can reach 500, I will add 1 chapter on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. If the average order is 1000, the daily word is 6000. If it can be a masterpiece, it will be 8000. It is my beautiful expectation for this book. The subsequent plot explanation. Yan Lingyu must die, and I estimate that it will be around 140 chapters. And in this life, she must be a golden elixir, and she probably died in the process of becoming a golden elixir. I will not change this. The length of the next chapter is about 50 chapters, and there are still many plots to write, which may be a bit rushed. For example, the marriage with the little princess. I have arranged the emotions in this life, but I have no idea what to do in the next life. Yan Lingyu must die, and King Hanner must become a widow. So what will happen in the next life? Will they recognize each other? Or will they find another love? There are several generations between them, so what is the ethics? Readers with good ideas, please share your thoughts. Well, that's all I have to say. Thank you for reading this. Chapter 95, Supplementing Family Instructions and Establishing a School. The Princess Mansion of Sheonan County. Brother Qin, you see, Yan Lingyu is quite talented. He was able to challenge opponents of higher levels when he was in the key training stage. I didn't expect that he could do the same when he reached the foundation building stage, and the opponent was from the upper sect, the elegant and noble lady of the county, Li Yuking, said with a smile. At this moment, Mrs. Li was delighted, because Yan Lingyu was Qin Hainer's future husband, so the better her son-in-law performed, the more satisfied she would be. Mrs. Li glanced at the old-fashioned Princess Qin, and said, "Men should get married when they are old enough, and women should get married when they are old enough. Our Hainer will get married sooner or later. Now Hainer has found a partner herself, and we have also helped her pass the test. This Yan Lingyu is indeed a good man. Why are you still so sad all day? You should be happy." Princess Qin sighed. "The fact is just as Mrs. Li said, he has done everything possible to find the black material of Yan Lingyu. Except that the other party's talent did not show when he was young, this guy can almost be said to be a perfect person. She is mature, kind, smart, and not a playboy. She also has extraordinary fighting power, which Shivan Kinshenge feels inferior to. Moreover, he has been constantly persuading his daughter to do something, and his firm ideas have been worn down a lot. After all, he still loves Kinhainer. There seems to be no other way except to sigh that girls can't be kept at home when they grow up." Before Yan Lingyu appeared, Princess Qin also considered the marriage of her daughter. At that time, he was thinking about the right match. Therefore, he learned about the situation in the surrounding counties, and there were indeed other princesses with children of the right age and excellent. But he gave up this idea later, always feeling that sending his daughter to other counties would make him feel uneasy. What if his daughter suffered there? Then Princess Qin lowered her requirements and looked for someone in her own Cheonan county, but couldn't find anyone she liked. Until Yan Lingyu appeared. To be honest, Kinshenge had no reason to reject this marriage except as a father. It was even unknown whether his daughter could survive without Yan Lingyu. Therefore, gradually, the barrier in Princess Qin's heart was put down, and she reluctantly accepted Yan Lingyu as her son-in-law. Looking back, it was a good thing. The Yan family was weak and dared not treat Kinhainer badly. And if Yan Lingyu dared to do something unfaithful, Kinshenge could directly take action and kill her with one palm to vent his anger for his daughter. Thinking of this, the father felt much more comfortable. Kishuling, Yan family. In recent days, the Yan family's scattered clansmen, except for those who really had something to do and couldn't get away, such as Yan Yinglian who was far away in Qingling County, all returned to their family. They all knew what happened in the Yan family. Everyone's face was solemn, and the family atmosphere was solemn. Everyone had their own ideas about the family ancestral meeting that Yan Lingyu was going to hold, and there were many different opinions. Now, Yan Lingyu's status in the Yan family is constantly rising. He is no longer just a seventh-generation descendant. In the hearts of the Yan family, he is already a Liu clan elder. When the clan members meet him, they will involuntarily rise in awe, even if he is the head of the Yan family. In the world of immortal cultivation, strength is still respected. The Yan family meeting was held on the third day after Yan Renming's death. The location is located in this hanged hall on the back mountain of Kishuling. This clan meeting was fully hosted by Yan Lingyu, and the head of the family Yan Yinglian and the clan elder Liu Yuxi could only give some advice. The clan meeting lasted a whole day and night. There are several key points. First, the family motto was changed from the original 16 words, "Be respectful when meeting others, be sympathetic when meeting difficulties, think about mistakes when seeing merits, and think about righteousness when seeing benefits," to talents should not be revealed, power should not be relied on, enjoyment should not be excessive, and success should not be arrogant. This was discussed in advance by Yan Lingyu and the head of the family. With the rapid development of the Yan family, some clan members have obviously become lax and lax. Some even began to feel that they were superior to others and showed an arrogant attitude. This change is subtle, will affect each other, and is hidden and difficult to detect. If Yan Renming had not appeared and allowed the Yan family to calm down and look at themselves, they might not have discovered it for a while. If these bad habits are not dispelled in time, they will be like termites, forever living in the entire Yan family. Fortunately, the Yan family discovered it early and were able to cut off the seeds. This is also the reason why Yan Lingyu was eager to convene this meeting. He not only wanted to eliminate the influence brought by Yan Renming, but also to correct the ideological direction of the clan members. Then, the Yan family announced the establishment of the Law Enforcement Hall to punish the clan members who made mistakes, and the clan members selected for the Law Enforcement Hall must go through layers of screening. The Yan family originally did not have a Law Enforcement Hall, and clan members' problems were generally solved by family ties, and each was punished separately. For example, if Yan Lingyu did something wrong, his father Yan Yingzhao would decide how to deal with him. If there were no elders in the clan like Yan Lingyu and Yan Lingyan, the family head or clan elders would deal with him. In this form, there is no unified standard, and it is easy to be partial, so that those who should be punished do not receive the punishment they deserve. Therefore, the Law Enforcement Hall is imminent. The first head of the Law Enforcement Hall was Yan Lingyu, who was jointly recommended by the Yan family. The most important thing about the Law Enforcement Hall is fairness and execution. Yan Lingyu, who was killed by Yan Renming, naturally meets these 2 points. There is another special and important point in the Yan family meeting. That is to open a school. Yes, it is a school that teaches sage books in the secular world. Because the monks are busy with cultivation, apart from reading and learning, they have basically never been to school. Instead, they read more books on exercises. Personal character depends entirely on the cultivation of the family atmosphere or the influence of the elders in the clan. It would be fine if they stayed in the clan and were influenced by the clan members. But once they were in the outside world, they would be easily influenced by the environment, and their ideas about how to behave would change dramatically, just like Yan Renming. Yan Lingyu, who had 3 lifetimes of experience, felt that this must be changed, and the family cultivators must also study. He not only introduced courses such as astronomy and geography, but also specially engraved the doctrines of various schools of thought. He even set reading as a family rule. All members of the Yan family had to go to school to study before the age of 18, read the books of sages, and study the great words of great men. In addition, the knowledge courses were also included in the family assessment of the Yan family. If the knowledge courses were not passed, they would be punished, deducted the qualifications for the allocation of various resources, and confined until they completed their studies. There was a huge response in the clan about this. Because the clan members did not have much time to practice, if they spent too much time on learning, it would affect the improvement of their cultivation. They believed that this was putting the cart before the horse. But Yan Lingyu was firm. He said, "You must first learn to be a good person, and then practice the immortal arts to make sense, otherwise you will become the next Yan Renming, talented but without morals, endangering the family." Yan Renming is also a good example. Using him as a teaching material, all the clan members can listen to it. So, the name Yan Renming was passed down from generation to generation in the Yan family. This clan meeting is of far-reaching significance and has a huge impact. It can be clearly seen that the Yan family members have changed their spirit after this. Everyone has become more calm and humble. Recently, the update has been unstable due to the listing reasons. It will return to 8 AM to 5 PM later. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, Master and Disciple, Concealment. In the golden autumn season, the breeze was rustling, and the entire Hengshui mountain was covered with a new veil, covered by continuous yellow. After the Yan family meeting ended, the family members also dispersed. After all, there were many important matters in the family that needed to be handled by people. It was acceptable to delay for 2 or 3 days. If it was really delayed for a long time, it would be a loss for the Yan family. As the family members left one after another, the huge Hengshui peak fell into silence again. At the top of a Hengshui peak, in the Xinjiang pavilion, Liu Yuxi, the old man of the Yan family, was thinking at the desk. Her mind flashed with scenes about Yan Lingyu and Yan Ping. After careful observation over the past few days, she found that the two did have many similarities. Especially her master's signature move, putting his hands behind his back. Yan Lingyu did it. It was really similar to the image. Putting the hands behind the back, this thing is something that many people in the Yan family can do. This habit can be traced back to the ancestor of the Yan family, Yan Ping. Yan's Hongmao learned from Yan Ping, Yan's Huangsu learned from Yan's Hongmao, Yan Renshong learned from Yan's Huangsu, the 5th generation learned from the 4th generation, and so on, and it was slowly passed down. Even among the young generation of the 7 generations of the Yan family, many of them are used to putting their hands behind their backs. Therefore, Liu Yuxi did not pay much attention to these things at first. It was not until she observed carefully in the past 2 days that she found that Yan Lingyu's movements were the most standard. She believed in her thoughts a little more. Knock knock knock. At this moment, there was a knock on the door outside the house. Come in. As soon as Liu Yuxi's voice fell, the door opened and a young and handsome man walked in. The person who came was naturally Yan Lingyu. Liu Yuxi looked relaxed, but she had been observing the other party secretly. Today, she would verify her thoughts and see if Yan Lingyu had any relationship with her master Yan Ping. Lingyu, sit down. Yes, elder. Yan Lingyu smiled and sat down on the chair in front of him with an indifferent expression. Come, have some tea. Thank you, elder. Yan Lingyu took the teacup handed over by Liu Yuxi, drank the tea in one gulp, and sighed. This Pennsylvania Longjing tea is really special, with a mellow fragrance and a lingering sweetness, which makes people linger. If you like it, I still have some. I can give you more. Thank you for your kindness, elder, but I rarely drink tea, and I just taste it, without that kind of artistic conception, so you should keep it for your enjoyment. Okay, Liu Yuxi said lightly, and at the same time his heart sank. Ancestor Yan Ping loves to taste tea the most, never drink it all in one gulp, and the posture of holding the cup is also different. From this point of view, the possibility that Yan Lingyu is Yan Ping is much lower. But in just one point, maybe the other party has changed over the years, and it is hard to say. It still needs to be tested. So, Liu Yuxi and Yan Lingyu, the old and the young, began to talk about the family situation, and the topic gradually became more and more extensive, from the future development of the family, the expansion trend of Xianyan Pavilion, to their respective expectations and ideals. Lingyu, have you ever been to Xianyan Yunhei? Liu Yuxi suddenly asked. No, but I heard that it is the most beautiful place in the southern part of the Dacian dynasty. Mortals often write poems about it, and even many cultivators can have enlightenment in the sea of clouds. In fact, I have wanted to go there for a long time, but I have never had the chance. Elder, have you ever been there? Yan Lingyu said so, with curiosity and yearning in his eyes. Elder, I went there once when I was young, Liu Yuxi said in a low voice. She went to Xianyan Yunhei once, and she went there with her master Yan Ping. The scenery there left an indelible mark on both of them. If Yan Lingyu was Yan Ping, then when she mentioned this place, the former would definitely react. But Liu Yuxi stared at it for a long time, but didn't notice anything unusual. It's great, Yan Lingyu said with a smile. However, the bitterness in his heart was only known to him. How could he not notice the temptation of his apprentice? In fact, when he fought with the demonized Yan Renming and summoned the three lotus blue sword, he knew that his identity might be exposed. Liu Yuxi, who had lived with him day and night in his previous life, might have noticed something strange. Originally, the family was stable now, commanding the entire Yingzhou, and the forces of the surrounding Zhejiang Yazhou were also on good terms, and even backed by the princess's mansion, so basically no one came to attack. In such a situation, it would not be a big problem to tell the secret in your heart to a trusted person. Yan Lingyu also struggled with whether to tell the other party about the reincarnation. But after careful consideration, he gave up. Liu Yuxi learned about this, and there was no other benefit except comfort in his heart. He would even feel more pressure to hide this secret, and he would be in a tense state all the time to prevent things from being exposed. As the elder of the family, Liu Yuxi already had important responsibilities and could not be given any other burdens. This was one of the reasons why Yan Lingyu chose to continue to conceal it, and another reason was about himself. Yan Lingyu was worried about telling the secret, one thing and two things. This life is not so bad, the only person worth mentioning is Liu Yuxi. But the situation in the next few lives will be different. If you are soft-hearted and break this rule, and share the secret with people you know in the future, then sooner or later this secret will no longer be a secret. In addition to various other reasons, Yan Lingyu finally buried everything in his heart and endured it alone. Yan Ping is dead, so why let him live again? Of course, this is just because he is weak now. If one day he can be strong enough to deal with everything, then he can naturally recognize the people he wants to see at will. Yan Lingyu is on guard and wants to hide himself. It is impossible for outsiders to find out, let alone Liu Yuxi. Liu Yuxi is familiar with Yan Ping, and Yan Lingyu is more familiar with her. The final result is no result. Well, after you and Miss Hainer are officially married, you can take her to Xianyan Yunhei. I believe it will leave you with good memories, Liu Yuxi said with a kind smile. She was already 99% sure that the other party was not Yan Ping, and the remaining probability was just her own extravagant hope. It was impossible not to feel disappointed. But reincarnation was exaggerated, and it was probably just her wishful thinking. Sometimes, with suspicion in one's heart, People will unconsciously tend to have other meanings for many seemingly true things. She thought that many of Yan Lingyu's behaviors were like Yan Ping, maybe she just missed her master, and subtly combined the two together. The two chatted for a few more sentences, and Yan Lingyu chose to say goodbye and leave. Turning his head to look at the Xinjiang pavilion and the faint figure on it, Yan Lingyu's eyes became firmer. He returned to his residence and began to continue practicing. He still had a lot of things to do. After becoming the head of the law enforcement hall, he had more affairs. And his cultivation had to be restored to the middle stage of foundation building first. The body movement, floating clouds and flowing water obtained from the princess's mansion had to be practiced. Mingli's sword sheath nurtured the three Lotus King sword, which was also a long process. Yan Lingyu cannot be allowed to slack off. Chapter 97 Duanfeng's Visit. There is another hidden story. A few days later, in a cave somewhere in Qiushu Peak, Yan Lingyu slowly opened his eyes, and there was azure water vapor flowing in his eyes. Now, floating clouds and flowing water has been introduced. Although this is a water-based footwork that can be blessed by the practice of Hengshui spirit body, after all, the grade is there, and it will take years of precipitation to achieve great success. And Yan Lingyu is not in a hurry now. Compared with his own strength growth, he is more concerned about Yan Renming's situation at this moment. He transmitted the latter's demonic appearance to Hai Chang'ang, wanting him to help ask if this is normal. However, he only got the news that Hai Chang'ang was in seclusion. Hai Chang'ang's father is also immortal, but he has a close uncle named Hai Jiangang, who is practicing Taoism in Hengshui sect originally. Hai Chang'ang had no chance to contact him, because the inner elixir of the nine-headed jellyfish stimulated his potential, which enabled him to enter the upper level and be valued by the elders. Hai Jiangang had no children, so he regarded Hai Chang'ang as his own child, and was willing to do some difficult and tedious things for him, and was indifferent to other people. Therefore, most of the Hai family's ability to search for information lies in Hai Chang'ang. During his retreat, Yan Lingyu had to find another way to understand the matter of the devil. I don't know when this guy will come out of retreat, only after losing it can you know the value of it. Yan Lingyu now misses this know-it-all. He stood up and was about to go out when a letter floated in front of him. After reading the content, he looked serious and rushed to the reception hall. When Yan Lingyu entered the reception hall, several people were already negotiating. The elder of the Liu clan and the head of the family, Yan Yingzhou, were both there. In addition, there was a young and handsome young man. This person had an extraordinary demeanor at first glance. He was dressed in a neat white Taoist robe to set off his somewhat slender body, with a jade belt around his waist and a diamond crown on his head. He was like a gentleman, transcendent and unworldly. From the message from the clan members, Yan Lingyu learned that this person was Yan Renming's junior brother, named Duanfeng. He came today because of the death of his senior brother. It represents the dignity of Qiushu sect. Yan Lingyu stepped forward and saluted. Daoyao. Duanfeng looked up and down at the former and replied, Daoyao Yan, 7 days have passed since Yan Renming's accident. Although Yan Renming has a special mark on his body that can show the location of his death, it takes a lot of time for even a foundation-building cultivator to rush from Qiushu sect to Qiushuling. Moreover, when Duanfeng came, he also deliberately inquired about the news and learned that Yan Renming was killed by his younger clan members after he turned evil. This shocked Duanfeng. He has an understanding of the senior brother. Although the other party has a perverse personality, is self-centered, and is a bit extreme, his heart to the Tao is extremely firm, and it is somewhat incredible that he can become a demon. Therefore, Duanfeng immediately thought that this was a one-sided statement of the Yan family, and there must be another hidden story. Therefore, he stayed in Yingzhou for a long time, thoroughly understood the situation, and knew that the Yan family had a good reputation. He dared to go alone only after he sent his situation to his master in Qiushu sect. At this moment, seeing the man of the same age in front of him, Duanfeng suddenly felt that his previous concerns were unnecessary. This cultivator named Yan Lingyu gave people a sense of righteousness. Being able to appreciate this is related to Duanfeng's own skills, and can also be seen from the other party's behavior. Hearing is false, seeing is true. There are too many rumors about him in the outside world recently, and I don't know which one is true and which one is false. Seeing him with his own eyes at this moment, Duanfeng gave Yan Lingyu a high evaluation in his heart, and regarded him as an existence at the same level as himself. Friend Yan, I came to the Yan family this time for my senior brother Yan Renming. I heard that he was killed by you after he became a demon. My Hengshui sect wants to test the body, Duanfeng said in a clear voice. Yan Lingyu nodded. The main purpose of him sealing Yan Renming's body was to deal with the investigation of Hengshui sect. For such an ancient sect, the Yan family is just an ant that can be easily crushed to death. Killing a disciple of the sect without reason is almost the same as seeking death. Yan Lingyu waved his hand, and Yan Renming's corpse appeared out of thin air. As soon as he appeared, he brought with him a thick black demonic aura. This made Duanfeng frown, and the last trace of disbelief in his heart disappeared. Yan Lingyu pointed at the corpse and explained, when Yan Renming fought with me, he was indeed in an extremely unstable state of emotion, but he was possessed by the devil too quickly, and there was no sign at all. And from the demonic aura left in the corpse, he was also eroded by the inner demon for a long time. After careful consideration, it must have been at least more than a month. Duanfeng lowered his head, walked to the corpse, and cast a light spell, wandering on the corpse. Then, his expression became more solemn. Demonic aura and inner demon erosion cannot be faked, unless you are a demon cultivator with a deep understanding of Taoism or possess an ancient magic weapon. The Yan family and Yan Lingyu are innocent, so this cannot be the case. Moreover, as the person said, Yan Renming should have been abnormal when he was in Hengshui sect, but his master, Master Heiming, and the sect's detection array did not find out the problem, which means that his possession is not normal. A person possessed by a demon can hide in a large sect like Hengshui sect, which makes Duanfeng worried. He doesn't know if there are other people in the sect who have this situation. Even though Duanfeng is just a foundation-building disciple in Hengshui sect, he understands that this matter has far-reaching implications. He must immediately report the whole story to the sect. Yan Lingyu saw the change in the other party's face and said, "Fellow Taoist Duan, the Yan family is weak and is really powerless to deal with the matter of demon cultivation. Please ask the Hengshui sect to find out the truth so that the people of the Yan family can feel at ease. In the current situation, Yan Lingyu only wants to remove his family from this matter. It is obvious that the other party is targeting Hengshui sect, and the Yan family cannot be affected. This game between giants, even if it is just the aftermath, can shock him and the Yan family to death." Duanfeng came back to his senses and clasped his fists solemnly. "This matter is of great importance, and I cannot decide it alone. Fellow Taoist Yan, I need to bring my brother's body back to the sect. Please help me." "Yes." After Yan Lingyu agreed, Duanfeng turned around and left in a hurry. The remaining few people in the Yan family also dispersed after a brief stop. Even if the sky falls, there is still a high ground to support it. The Yan family only needs to develop itself. Moreover, in half a year, the Yan family will have another big event. That is the engagement of Yan Lingyu and King Hainer. Although there is still half a year, preparations must be made for it now. Even Yan Lingyu himself was shameless and visited various forces to exchange for some precious materials. This engagement is not like the previous life. In the previous life, Yan Ping's wedding was simple because both parties were independent cultivators without power. But now the Yan family is also well known in Xiaonan County, not to mention that the woman is the daughter of the county lord, so it should be decent. Chapter 98 The Importance of Studying, Yan Family Wedding Invitation. Be quick to learn, and do not be ashamed to ask questions. Learn silently, never get tired of learning, and never get tired of teaching others. Under a big banyan tree in Kangtong sect, a young boy was reciting continuously. His eyes were clear, sometimes nodding and shaking his head, and sometimes sighing to the sky. This boy's name is Yan Lingyu. He is 17 years old this year, and his cultivation is at the 6th level of key training. He ranks 16th in the Ling generation of the Yan family. As for why he appeared in Kangtong sect, it was naturally for learning and communication. He was one of the few members of the Yan family who was talented in body training. Therefore, he was placed in Kangtong sect to practice. "Hey, Lingyu, what are you doing? You are shaking your head and chattering here." Yan Lingyu turned around and saw a beautiful girl with a pair of bright big eyes. The person coming was Wen Yaling, a disciple of Kangtong sect, who was the same age as him. The two often practiced together. "I'm reading a book," Yan Lingyu replied with a smile. "Reading? Is it some kind of martial arts? Let me see." Wen Yaling, with a face full of curiosity, snatched the book from the other party's hand, and looked up and down with her big eyes. Suddenly, her face turned bitter and she said, "What? Isn't this just an ordinary book? I thought you were practicing some martial arts. The clan competition is about to begin, and these things will be tested then. I have to cram at the last minute. Yan Lingyu took the book of illusions back, flattened it and put it into the storage bag. You also test this kind of thing? You Yan family members are so idle. I don't even have enough time to practice. The girl pouted and continued, I say, you Yan family members, why do you hold a book in your hands every day? You waste your time here. Aren't you afraid that your cultivation will be delayed? Don't pick up sesame seeds and lose watermelons. But Yan Lingyu shook his head and retorted, when the ninth brother laid down this family rule at the beginning, several brothers and sisters and I were also so opposed to you. But as we studied in depth, we gradually realized that there is a golden house in the book. Knowledge and practice. I now think that these are two equally important things. Yan Lingyu stood up, looked in the direction of the Yan family, and sighed. The ninth brother set up this family rule. He is really a great man. I can see many of my shortcomings from the book, and the principles in the book can also teach me how to correct them. I can learn from the mistakes of the past and know what is wrong and what is right. These things, you don't understand them at all if you don't go deep into them. After hearing this, when Yelling showed anger on her face, why have you become a nerd? You are still quibbling for that person. I admit that Senior Yan Lingyu has a talent for cultivation, but he can also make mistakes. Look, because of the assessment, your own cultivation has fallen behind, and I have surpassed you. Facing the teasing of his childhood sweetheart, Yan Lingyu just said indifferently, yelling, you are wrong. My cultivation has not fallen behind. This is just a short period of time in exchange for long-term progress in the future. Then, he turned his head and said to the other party very seriously, yelling, I really hope you can also read the Analects of Confucius, Mencius and other secular theories. Believe me, you will have a new understanding of being a person in cultivating Taoism, and gain new gains. Reading these secular masterpieces is very different from the original writing and recognizing words. The latter is empty, and even with the memory of the cultivator, it will not take long to complete it all. But it is precisely because of the simplicity and speed of literacy that the cultivator will miss the meaning of many languages. Another year has passed since the Yan family meeting. During this year, Yan Lingyu has gained something every time he reads a book. Especially when he encounters a bottleneck in his practice or training, he calms down, takes out a book, and reads it quietly, and there are always unexpected breakthroughs. Yan Lingyu continued solemnly, cultivating immortals is cultivating the Tao. The Tao exists between heaven and earth. All things have their own Tao. Cultivators have their own Tao, and ordinary people also have their own Tao. Maybe the two cannot completely overlap, but they can complement each other, learn from each other, and verify each other. Tisk, I won't. The assessment of my Kongtong sect is also extremely strict. What if I can't pass it? You come to compensate, that's not impossible. Watching the girl leave angrily, Yan Lingyu shook his head helplessly. Suddenly, he had an idea, and a rough man who looked 70% similar to him fell in front of him. Fourth brother, the man was Yan Lingyu. After years of precipitation, he has also become much more stable. Now he has entered the 9th level of key training and is preparing for foundation building. Because there is the foundation building pill recipe, it is expected that another foundation building cultivator will be born in the Yan family soon. Yan Lingyu patted the latter on the shoulder and said, you are familiar with this place, take me to see fellow Taoist Lin. Soon, the two came to Lin Zixin's cave, where the latter happened to be. Fellow Taoist Lin, this is the Yan family's invitation. Oh, Lin Zixin looked surprised. What big thing happened to the Yan family that they specially sent an invitation? The key is that as a good friend of Yan Lingyu, he had not received any news before. He took the invitation, which was a bright red spiritual paper, indicating a great happy event for the Yan family. The next moment, Lin Zixin's eyes widened and said in disbelief, wedding banquet? Yan Lingyu? Ah, this turned out to be a wedding invitation, and the protagonist in it was Yan Lingyu. Lin Zixin was shocked. It's not his fault that he was not surprised. He really didn't expect that a person with Yan Lingyu's character would suddenly get married. In his opinion, that person was like an iceberg, who remained calm even when the clan collapsed, and whose heart towards the Tao was extremely firm. It is more convincing to say that Yan Lingyu never married than that he got married before he was 30. What kind of person is this woman, who can capture the heart of such a monster? At this moment, Lin Zixin was full of curiosity and admiration. This woman might also be a monster. He lowered his head and glanced down. Huh? Lin Zixin rubbed his eyes in a daze and looked again. Impossible, His eyes as big as copper bells kept opening and closing, and he almost dug them out. Lin Zixin thought that his eyes were broken, or the invitation was written wrong. Container? Little princess? Yan Lingyu? Marriage? Are you kidding me? Lin Zixin was stunned on the spot. It was shocking enough that Yan Lingyu secretly and mysteriously found a wife, and this wife was Container. For a moment, Lin Zixin suspected that he was dreaming. Coming back to his senses, looking at Yan Ling's smiling expression and the fact that the Yan family would never joke about such a thing, he slowly chose to accept it. Then, his face became serious and he said, "Fellow Taoist Lingzhang, I will definitely attend the banquet then." After seeing off the Yan family's guests, Lin Zixin found Ruan Jinheng and told him about the matter, and then they reported it to the elders of the sect together. At the same time, in the hall on the mountain, the leader of the Kongtong sect also had an invitation card emitting golden light in his hand, and his face was very solemn. The princess's mansion is different from the Yan family. The invitation cards sent by the Yan family are at most to the level of Lin Zixin and Hai Chonggang, and if the princess's mansion sends out an invitation, it will alarm the entire upper class of Xiaonan County. Just like the leader of the Kongtong sect at this moment. He stared at the invitation card and murmured, "Yan Lingyu." His heart could not calm down for a long time. Chapter 99, Welcoming the Bride. Guests arrive. The princess's mansion of Xiaonan County. In the boudoir full of girlish atmosphere, there is Container in a bright red dress and her mother Li Yuqing with a happy face. After Container graduated from Xiaonan College, she stayed at home for a month, and spent the remaining 5 months with Yan Lingyu. The two of them can be said to be reunited after a short separation. Except for the last step, they should kiss and touch each other, and their feelings have taken a step further. Today is the day when Container is getting married. She is anxiously waiting for the man to arrive and take her away. Mrs. Li, with a gorgeous face, gently held her daughter's hand, and her beautiful eyes swept up and down at each other. At this moment, Container was wearing light makeup, her thin lips were painted with red gauze, her pretty face was smeared with gold powder, and the light eyeshadow set off the girl's charming eyes. Her long, black hair, like silk, was draped around her waist, and on top of her head were several crystal clear, finely carved hairpins, which outlined her spirit and echoed with the gold and silver accessories on her body, making the girl more charming. "My daughter is so beautiful," Madame Li said with a smile. "How could it be?" Container blushed shyly, but the smile on her lips could not be stopped. Suddenly, Madame Li's expression became serious. She rubbed her daughter over, and slowly said, "Container, when you go to the Yan family in the future, your parents will not be around. You must take good care of yourself, Mom." Container was a little moved, with tears in her eyes. Madame Li continued meaningfully, "You must not be arrogant in the future. As a woman, you must know how to give up power. The Yan family is weak and under pressure from the princess's mansion. They will do what you say even if they don't want to. But it is inevitable that they will have different intentions and be easily excluded. Also, you don't have to run back to your mother's house often. This is what your father wants. Doing so will cause people to gossip, whether it is family members or outsiders. These are not good for you. Dad and Mom don't care whether you come back to see us often, as long as you are happy." Container nodded while crying. Then Li Yuqing's face became stern and said, "Of course, if the Yan family bullies you, you have to tell Dad and Mom, and Dad and Mom will help you vent your anger." Madame Li stroked the girl's smooth hand and said, "That Yan Lingyu is indeed outstanding, but the more outstanding a man is, the more dangerous he is. You don't know when he runs away and brings you a sister. You have to take good care of him. He dares," Container suddenly said coquettishly. "Container, you don't understand. Men are all playboys. If your father hadn't kept a close eye on you, you might have had a few more concubines." "Okay, Mother, I'll listen to you." "Container, come here and put this away." As she spoke, Madame Li took something out of her sleeve. It was a thin booklet with a beautiful spring scene on the cover, and a few big characters Yuanyang Palace map were written on it. Seeing the book, Container flipped through it curiously, and her face changed in an instant. She was shy and blushed all the way to her ears. She had wild thoughts and fantasies in her mind. She lowered her head and couldn't speak. The brief silence in the boudoir was interrupted by a knock on the door. "Madam, Miss, the wedding procession has arrived," the servant of the princess's mansion outside the door called out. "Mother, I'm leaving now, okay?" At this moment, in front of the main courtyard of the princess's mansion, There were several young men in a messy state. Hengshui, the princess of Sheonan, was dressed in a robe of honor. She stood there and watched the people coming and going, with a trance in her heart. Princess, congratulations. The person who congratulated was the leader of Kangtong sect. Princess, congratulations. The people from several major forces gathered together, exchanging pleasantries with each other, and looked at the Yan family, which had been in the limelight. They had too many curiosity about this emerging force that suddenly rose. Why could the Yan family marry the princess's mansion? What kind of person is Yan Lingyu? Huh? Is that fellow Taoist Mao from Wuzi sect, and fellow Taoist Wang from Huangai sect? Some of the senior officials of Sheonan County recognized the two new blue-robed old men and expressed shock. Princess Qin, did you invite these people? Qin's Hain shook his head. No. Are these the connections of the Yan family? A cultivator said in disbelief. Huangai sect and Wuzi sect are both forces in the Central Plains. There are also giant and cultivators in the sects. The strength of the sects is not inferior to that of the princess mansion. Although the two old men who came here are not giant and cultivators, they are also absolute high level in their respective sects. The Yan family can invite such people, which shows their ability. In fact, these people were invited by Yan Lingyu to support the Yan family. At the beginning, Yan Lingyu had a great favor to two sect disciples, Keili and Chang Zihan, in the inheritance of Xianming sect. Although the two of them did not receive the inheritance, they still benefited a lot and both made breakthroughs in the art of formation. Therefore, Yan Lingyu also has a good relationship with several disciples. Mao Zhan and Wang Bei, two late-stage foundation-building cultivators, came here to celebrate a birthday. One is to thank Yan Lingyu, and the other is to enhance the relationship with the Yan family. After all, Yan Lingyu's wife is the daughter of a county lord. Moreover, they can also get to know many major forces in Sheonan County through this wedding banquet, which is worth coming here anyway. This Yan family is really surprising. The head of the Hai family continued to sigh. It's really a skill to gather so many high-ranking people here. The leader of the Kangtong sect on the side echoed. The Yan family is not only unusual. Have you observed the temperament of other members of the Yan family? As soon as he said this, everyone present was stunned. However, Princess Qin took over the conversation. The older generation of the Yan family is fine, but the younger generation is humble and not servile, which is precious. The Yan family has changed a lot in recent years. Perhaps Yan Lingyu's light is too dazzling, overshadowing the others. It was also at this time that these higher-ranking forces discovered that other members of the Yan family were unusual. The average cultivation of the Yan family members is not high, but they are going to greet big figures from all sides. If you let a key training cultivator greet a foundation-building cultivator, the former will most likely be suppressed by the other party's momentum and become submissive. However, the younger generation of the Yan family is not like this. As Qin Zhang said, they are full of confidence and humble. Princess Qin's words made everyone fall into deep thought. It was not terrible for a family to have a genius, but it was terrible for all the members of the family to have excellent qualities in cultivation. This meant that this force would flourish forever. Chapter 100, 6 years, Family Changes. First, bow to heaven and earth, in the hall, with the blessings of everyone. The newlywed couple Yan Lingyu and Qin Hainer began the most important ceremony of their lives. Second, bow to your parents. The master of ceremonies' voice sounded again. The two young people turned around and bowed deeply to Qin's Hain and Liu Yuxi, who were sitting at the head seat. This made the two old men smile with relief. Liu Yuxi was fine. After all, Yan Lingyu was just a clan member, and she was acting as a parent. On the contrary, the usually majestic Princess Qin kept using her true energy to dissipate the moisture in her eyes, and her eyes were gentle. Husband and wife bowed to each other. Turning around again, Yan Lingyu looked at his wife with a red veil on her head, and her body trembling with excitement. For a moment, his old heart was also surging. Enter the bridal chamber. In the bridal chamber, Qin Hainer was at a loss, twisting the corner of her clothes, feeling her heart beating wildly, and her mind was blank. When there was a noise outside the door, she hurriedly hid a booklet, and then her chest rose and fell more violently, waiting for the arrival of fate. Squeak, the door opened, and a figure vaguely entered. The person's footsteps got closer and closer until he stood in front of her. My wife, a familiar and warm voice sounded. Qin Hainer bit her red lips with her silver teeth. Her cheeks were hot, and her whole body seemed to be powerless. She could only shyly hum. As the veil was lifted, The face of the man in her heart came into view, which made the girl's face even more flushed. "My husband, let me serve you. A moment of spring night is worth 1,000 gold." Time flies. It has been 6 years since Yan Lingyu and Qin Han'er got married. In the back mountain of Yan's family, Yan Lingyu, who was meditating, woke up and exhaled a breath. 6 years have passed, and his cultivation has advanced to the middle stage of foundation building with the help of cultivation recovery. The system still has a little effect, which may help him reach the late stage of foundation building. Of course, this will take more time. Standing up, Yan Lingyu pushed away the restriction, turned into a beam of light, and went to his own house. In midair, he saw a pretty woman playing with a child in the yard. Yan Lingyu fell down, and the innocent boy noticed the arrival and shouted excitedly, "Daddy!" Then he threw himself into the arms of the former. Yan Lingyu picked up his son Yan Zinun, spun him in midair, and put him back to the ground after making the boy laugh. Then, the father and son came to Qin Han'er together. "Lingyu, you will take care of Zinun for a few months. I have had some enlightenment recently and need to go into seclusion," Qin Han'er said softly. Yan Lingyu nodded. Okay. Qin Han'er was exhausted physically and mentally after 10 months of pregnancy, and her cultivation stagnated for a long time. Now that she can achieve more in cultivation, this is naturally what Yan Lingyu wants to see. Perhaps it is because Yan Lingyu and Qin Han'er have higher cultivation and aptitude, and these 6 years of hard cultivation have allowed them to have a son. But fortunately, the aptitude is good, with dual spiritual roots of wood and water. The little guy is sensible and cheerful. Not only his parents like him, but also his grandparents. Whenever he is brought to the princess's mansion, Princess Qin's Henge will give him a lot of new gadgets. Of course, these are all made of various spiritual objects. Even the jade pendant worn on Yan Zinun's chest is a disposable spiritual weapon that can protect himself. He can be said to have grown up with a golden key. As for the princess's mansion, although it is Qin Han'er's mother's home, Yan Lingyu has always maintained a respectful attitude and does not let the Yan family rely too much on the other party for development. The Yan family still has to be independent. Except for Qin Ran, the master of formations, who has been voluntarily staying in the Yan family, the Yan family has not called on anyone or anything in the princess's mansion. More often, they choose to rely on the Yan family's own operations. Now that the sun and the moon are alternating, the power of the Yan family is getting bigger and bigger, and several foundation-building cultivators have been born in the family one after another. Yan Yingzhao, the head of the Ying generation, and Yan Yingming, the son of Yan Jidao, have both broken through the shackles and made another step forward. The Ling generation is Yan Lingzhang, who became the second 7th-generation foundation-building cultivator after Yan Lingyu. Including Liu Yuxi and Qin Ran, the Yan family has a total of 4 early foundation-building cultivators and 2 mid-foundation cultivators, which is already a force that cannot be ignored. It is worth mentioning that the Yan Yinglian branch, settled in Qingling County, has also grown and developed. With the support of the family, Yan Yinglian entered the foundation-building stage, and the Yan family branch has gained a firm foothold in a place millions of miles away from the family. The Yan family's reserve talents are also not exhausted. People like Yan Yingshan, Yan Lingyan, and Yan Lingfei may break through and become foundation-building cultivators in the near future. Because the family resources have increased, the spiritual objects that each member of the family can obtain far exceed those before, which increases their upper limit. Unfortunately, this good era came late for some members of the family. Like the older generation in the family, they are out of the most suitable age for cultivation and are destined to have no hope of building a foundation. Otherwise, alchemists like Yan Jidao can go further in their alchemy skills after entering the foundation building stage, and can also play a greater role in the family. These older generations were also free and easy. Some continued to work for the family, while others taught their children and grandchildren while enjoying their old age. And that marriage did bring a lot of benefits to the Yan family. Not to mention the precious gifts sent by the top leaders of the major forces, the reputation gained from it alone also made the Yan family very popular. After that, small forces continued to choose to attach themselves to the Yan family, making the entire Yan family have a full 230 cultivators, truly becoming the overlord of Yingzhao. At the same time, the emerging members of the Yan family are also constantly emerging. Now most of the Ling generation have reached their 30s and 40s, and they are all at the time of marriage, and they have begun to marry and have children. Therefore, The new 8th generation of the Yan family, the Xin generation, began to grow up. Now, the oldest Yan Xingxin is also 12 years old. And the entire Xin generation has more than 10 people. Among them are from the family, and some are born from ordinary families. The birth cycle of ordinary people is much faster than that of cultivators. In order to better arrange the generation, all those born after Yan Xingxin are of the Xin generation. In order to better discipline these younger generations, the Yan family school was reformed again, and even invited secular teachers to teach. They strive to instill family consciousness and collective honor into these newcomers. In addition, the Yan family's business in various places is also booming. Xian'an Pavilion is not only famous in Ying, Yu, and Ji states, but also has a branch in the neighboring county. With the support of Shaonan County Lord's Mansion, there is no need to be afraid of occasionally auctioning the foundation pills and foundation pills. People will only think that these pills come from the County Lord's Mansion, so the Yan family always reaps a lot of rewards. As for the County Lord's Mansion, in fact, as early as when Yan Lingyu got married, he gave the pill formula as a betrothal gift. Many Jinden forces have foundation pill formulas, so this is nothing to them. It's just that the county lord was born as a casual cultivator and worked for the royal family. He didn't need this thing before, but the county lord's wife's family needed it, so she accepted it. Now the Yan family's annual income is about 20,000 spirit stones, which has been converted. After all, the Yan family has grown in number, and the various spiritual objects they need have also increased. Many spiritual stones have been used to enhance the strength of the family members. Now the average strength of the Yan family members is much higher than 10 years ago. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.